a flag bearer. After all was said and done, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was elected as flag bearer of the NPP. Going into election 4 with over 6 Canadian victory of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He has pledged his support, talking about Kennedy Japan, for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia going into election 2024. Already there's conversation about who partners him. But this morning, we focus on the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia election. What does this really mean for the NPP's chances going into election 2024? Take a look.
Has given me everything, every opportunity and grace. I have dedicated my life to give back and to serve this wonderful country to the best of my ability with every breath in my body. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have my own vision and my own priorities. Given the opportunity by you, the people of Ghana, to lead, I shall govern as my own man with guidance from God Almighty. My vision is to build an inclusive, food self-sufficient, data-driven, and systems-based nation that will fully participate in the global digital revolution to resolve our problems and also to usher in a golden age of benefits from our natural resources. I want to lead a nation that improves and unleashes the talents of our youth and offers good jobs with good pay and sustainable growth with macroeconomic discipline.
So the die is cast for these two main contenders, talking about the NPP and the NDC. All of their flag bearers from the northern region. You cannot take away that from the analysis. But then again, how does Dr. Bawumia intend to have Ghanaians see him as his own man? Exactly what does that mean? What does he intend to do in that regard going forward? Stay with us. We'll talk about it. Also, his main contender in the election 2024, John Dramani Mahama, flag bearer of the NDC. Right after the election of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, he's been also talking, in fact, leading the engagement with the Trade Union Congress, TUC, earlier in the week, where he talks about running a 24-hour economy. Exactly what are the details of that? And how is it going to play out is what the economists have been asking. The TUC lauds that idea and how it would impact on our economic development. Here is the flag bearer of the NDC who met the TUC earlier in the week with the proposal of a 24-hour economy. Take a look.
During COVID, we recommended that at times where workers lose their jobs and are unemployed, it should be possible for there to be a scheme where part of their social security savings is paid to them as allowances until they can find another job. And we suggested it, but it fell on deaf ears. Don't sing again, I beg you. We intend to implement a 24-hour economy. And by this, we will provide incentives in terms of reduction in corporate taxes and other exemptions to businesses that will sign up to the 24-hour economy initiative. And if we remember, in the past, but then we must also look at the security side and make sure that we provide them with security. Because if you remember, in the past, filling stations used to work 24 hours. Unfortunately, armed robbers started attacking them, and because of that, they all closed at about 10 o'clock. And so if we're able to provide them with adequate security, businesses and services like that, there's no reason why they can't operate 24 hours. And we'll give them the tax incentives to be able to do so. We'll identify and promote strategic growth areas.
Well, there's a lot at play with this particular policy proposal, and we have already started the conversation of interrogating some of these proposals going into election 2024 to assess its feasibility and the plausibility and the impact that it intends to make as well. But in exercising his constitutional mandate, President Akufo-Addo has nominated 3 justices to fill vacancies at the apex court. I'm talking about the Supreme Court, after the 3 other judges reached their mandatory retirement age. And so there's been a vacancy created. But some political watchers and constitutional analysts are already raising concerns about these nominations. We'll find out why. Welcome to Key Point here on TV3. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. My guest will be joining me right after this quick break. We'll get into the conversation. I am Alfred Ocansey. Welcome.
At 10 has been reloaded though.
Oh yeah, I know Dada.
Then the vibe is still vibing.
Yes, everyone needs to experience the vibe. And a Dancing at 10 Reloaded is definitely what you need this December. This time, we are sustaining the vibes in Qatar, Nairobi, Zanzibar, Singapore, Cyprus, Turkey, Philippines, from 20th November at a rate starting from $1,990 per person and $3,950 for a couple. Your flight, accommodation, breakfast, and tours are all sorted. It's a Dancing at 10 Reloaded. Simply call 0595 500 817 or 0556 310 404 to book now. At Dancing Travels, fuel life's beauty.
Malcolm Black Friday is back, now bigger and better. From 3rd November to 3rd December, just enjoy flaming hot Black Friday unbeatable deals in all Malcolm stores nationwide and online. It's time to shop like never before. Malcolm Black Friday is back and now live. Terms and conditions apply. Malcolm, where Ghana shops.
It's time for golden season. Time to try your luck. The rules are simple. You can place bets on any sports event. Get promotional tickets. Take part in prize draws. What's the season? It's golden season. Time to try your luck. Use the promo code to get your welcome bonus.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be...
7th edition of the prestigious Ghana Energy Awards is here. Theme: Ghana's Energy Transition Framework, Sector Institutions as Building Blocks for the 2030 to 2040 targets. Happening live on Friday, 17 November at the Labadi Beach Hotel, 6:30 p.m. Special guest of honor is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. For tickets, sponsorship, or enquiries, call 030-394-0300 or 055-930-0631. Endorsement, validation, industry partners, media partner. Ghana Energy Awards, 7 years of redefining excellence.
This is Hot Issues, your passport to the most compelling conversations of our time. We go one-on-one with the movers and shakers, the thought leaders, and the game changers. We ask the questions that matter, and we don't back down.
Tonight on Hot Issues, I sit with the man at the Center of Corruption Investigations.
Join me on Hot Issues here on TV3.
Hot Issues shows Sundays at 2 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Do you want to be a star?
What does Ghana mean to you? We're in Ghana this weekend. This Sunday on Mentor Season 12, get served with a musical buffet put together by your very own contestants as they serenade you with an array of Ghanaian hits back to back. Don't miss the Mentor Show live this Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3. It's the Ghanaian Music Night on TV3 Mentor Season 12. The world awaits you.
Mentor is brought to you by Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil, and Napa Foods, Sense Body Spray.
Bell Ice, Vitamilk, Dragnet, Pepsodent Charcoal and Lemon Infused Formula, and Pepsodent Natural Herbal Formula. Darling Lemon Drink.
Our guest this week on Today's Woman is all about people. She's a coach, she's a mentor.
My passion was women, young people, definitely. But I loved solving problems.
She's a personal development trainer and she is a powerhouse when it comes to women empowerment.
Men in these decision-making positions give access to women to be in these positions as well to help your business grow and develop. And we're saying you don't have to be there, you just have to start to recognize the different projects and programs you can have women leading on to demonstrate their skills so that they can demonstrate that they should be in those positions.
Samota Oluwatoyin Ashabi Dania is our guest. So don't miss all the action right here on your TV screens Saturday 3 p.m. with me, Cookie T. It is Today's Woman.
Today's Woman with Cookie T shows Saturdays at 3 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by Latex Foam, Vlisco.
DNA raises all eyebrows all over Ghana. When it's about DNA, everybody's serious.
He was asked to come for his results some days after. Miss Nancy, the kids are his, but I swapped his results, and that shook this man.
I would say he has also played a role in killing his wife. Yes. Because you walk into a hospital, you met a nurse, definitely you were also attracted, so you believed quickly.
Being a narc or a narcissist, okay? So basically the world should revolve around me. I deserve him more than you do. I am better off.
The life in which we are living is full of choices. Anytime you make a choice, there's another element hanging, risk. All right? And so you have made a choice of doing what you're doing. Did you check the risk factor?
There's always been this notion about nurses, about how they would carefully, patiently take care of their patients only for them to become theirs in the end.
Confessions shows on Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by
MTN.
Hi, my name is Haley Sumni, and I can't wait for you to join me this Saturday on the one and only Lady Circle.
You've seen some musicians leave their record labels and things do not go well for them.
What we do know about the entertainment space across the globe, it can be a very exploitative industry.
Somebody like Mobad, this is a street boy who is hustling,
So
just
he
wants
just
to
made
put
it.
food on his family's table.
Some of the videos, let's be honest, they show a lot of proof that he was being bullied. I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
Australia was very
extremely.
No, Australia was very extremely. So have you ever stalked an actor on social media after you adored his performance in a movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Kunle Remy.
The Ladies Circle shows this Saturday at 6 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Yaz Sanitary Pad,
Onga, Yumvita,
MTN,
Woodin,
Cowbell, Our Milk,
DES range of products.
feel adrift as you transition into a new stage of your life? The future seems like a blank space until you discover the passion within. The canvas of the future is yours to paint. Welcome to a world of opportunities. Heritage Christian College, offering world-class university education, training compassionate entrepreneurial leaders.
Week on Kids Arena, we are talking about bonding.
We were friendly to each other, but there was no bonding. And we're also going to a very special place.
When was the last time you went out with your family or friends?
And don't forget our discovery of the week.
My name is Purel. I am 8 years old.
Well, if you want to know all about it, just tune in this Saturday right here on TV3 for Kids Arena.
Kids Arena, this is us.
This is us.
Kids Arena. Show Saturdays at 10 a.m. on TV3. Don't miss it.
Prepare to embark on an epic journey. The stage is set, the lights are on, and the stakes have never been higher. Welcome to Mentor Season 12, the ultimate musical reality showdown, where 16 extraordinary talents will face off in a battle of passion, creativity, and showmanship. Enjoy the ride as these musical geniuses take you through 13 weeks of musical showdowns. Catch the Mentor Season 12 show live every Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3. This is TV3 Mentor Season 12. The world awaits you.
Mentor is brought to you by Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil and Napa Foods Sense Body Spray.
Bell Ice, Vitamilk, Dragnet, Pepsodent Charcoal and Lemon Infused Formula, and Pepsodent Natural Herbal Formula.
Well, welcome back to Key Point. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, also on 3FM 92.7, also on DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. We are also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and also W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Now, my guests joining me in studio for these all-important topics as earlier introduced. The Honorable Nelson Roxon Dafiamekpo is Member of Parliament for the South Dai constituency. He's a private legal practitioner and a member of the Constitutional Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament. His constituency was heavily hit by the spillage of the Akonsombo and Pong Dams excess water. Roxon Nelson Dafiamekpo, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. Good morning to my brothers, and it's a privilege to be here once more.
Indeed. Also, Martin Pebble is private legal practitioner. He is the leader of one of 3 bondholder groups and then also the convener of the Kumi Preko Reloaded demonstration. Lawyer Martin Pebble, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Ocansey.
Perennial critic of Ekufor.
Which we must continue to do because he said his philosopher came and he's ended up to you at the worst.
Okay, let's stay on course. We haven't started yet. Also, private legal practitioner, lawyer Akbar Yusuf Komedi, is a special assistant to the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bamia, and flag bearer elect of the NPP. Council, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Alfred.
Great. Also joining us is Professor Ransford Jampo. He's a professor of political science at the University of Ghana, Legon, written quite extensively about the democracy in this country and beyond. And while he speaks, you can make some time and read a lot more. Professor Ransford Jampo, good morning, welcome.
Morning, morning.
He is also the president of the University of Ghana UTAG branch. Now, before we get into the election of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and really what that means for the NPP, this week, the energy minister was in parliament accompanied by the Water River Authority officials. In fact, there's that consensus that VRA must answer some questions about the spillage that has displaced over 50,000 people on our last count, plus a number of farmlands and other investments that have been affected. Now to hear from Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh about the element of resettlement, because that's the major conversation now, that after all of this, what has been put in place for the people who have been displaced, affected by the spillage. This is what he said. Take a look.
From last week, and I said from this, I would never answer for things I'm not responsible for. I said the government has set up an interministerial committee that is still working. We are not out of the doldrums yet. And that when we finish, Parliament can inquire from them their reports and how they behave. We will do things that are necessary, but it's a committee that has to decide. I think that we have a difficult time because where the flooding has been carried every year, upstream north, there's a resettlement packages that are sent to them every year. And as soon as the water resides, the human beings go back to the site. And it's not because of anything, it's because of economic livelihood. They're either fishermen who settle around the coast, or they are farmers who want the best land, which is found where the water is. So it's a difficult thing that we have to do. It's a really, really difficult thing. One of the chiefs said yesterday that this is not the first time his village or his area has been flooded. But every time, he even advocated that we should build them shelters so that, because he knows that the people will go back to the areas that they will flood. So that when it's not flooding, the people will come, or when it is flooding, they will come to the areas. And when it is receded, they'll go. So it's a difficult thing. You provide such shelters for difficult places. So I think the experts will have to deal with it, and we are not experts.
Nelson Davem says this is a continuous work, that the interministerial committee is doing its work, and the element of resettlement, understand, is there's a conversation ongoing. Has there been any engagement whatsoever, giving you a clear indication of the kind of resettlement that is even being considered in the first place?
Thank you very much. Good morning once more. Good morning to my constituency, Peki Palik Pevetongo, especially Jemeni, who have suffered the brunt of this flooding and in distress. As we speak, the 13-member interministerial committee hasn't issued any statement regarding the problems we have in the Volta region and some other parts of the country. My expectation is that they would have been giving us a weekly update on the situation. What I know, and that's the fact, is that the last time they visited the areas was when the president came. All of them trooped and followed the president. As soon as the president left, that is the end. So I really don't know what this interministerial committee is doing. And I don't think this is the kind of thing that you need an interministerial committee to handle.
Why do you say so?
NADMO is capable. NADMO is the statutory institution set up in law to be able to handle matters such as this. How are we suggesting that NADMO is not capable?
No, because we all do know they are under-resourced.
appeared before the Public Accounts Committee in August and stated clearly that they are under-resourced. In fact, the Director General told the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee clearly that as of that August, if in If in the event that we had a disaster, they would have been incapacitated in handling it. And truly, as if the chairman of the committee anticipated this happening in October.
And this was in February?
No, August. This year, just a couple of months back.
That's just a month before
they came to Parliament.
The disaster.
So we need to resource NADMO. If you see some of the ministries featuring in this interministerial committee, what exactly are they doing?
So this resettlement, in what form are you expecting?
It has to come in the form of a housing.
Housing?
Yes, it has to be in the form of housing.
Want houses built for the people?
Yes, low-cost housing built for the people. That's how it's done everywhere. That's how you resettle people. It has to take the form of housing. Then, like the Minister of Agri put out much earlier when the news of the disaster filtered through, that government is willing to make available some 40 million World Bank facility. So again, that will be to putting the people into some form of the agrarian activities to be able to continue to engage in their subsistence farming. And mind you, I have made the point that if you consider the entire spectrum of flooding that has affected the Volta Basin, we are likely to face food crisis from January, February, because...
Well, the Deputy Agri Minister says that's not true.
On what basis is he saying not true? Farmlands.
There's enough buffer.
You see, it's not about enough buffer. He has no understanding of what constitutes the Volta Basin.
He addressed
the Volta Basin is entirely the bread basket of this country, where vegetables such as cabbage, okra, tomatoes, food crops such as potatoes, cassava, maize, millet, rice are cultivated in large quantities, including cowpea. And all these thousands of farmlands that are under water as we speak. And he says that there will not be, we won't have food crisis. Anybody who will look at this situation and the extent of the deluge and the extent of the flooding and the extent of the land, farmlands, and the acreage that's gone underwater, if any analyst will look at this and say that you do not anticipate food shortages and therefore you plan for it, I hope that he will appreciate the fact and say that government will take steps to ensure that we do not experience that. But other than to say that they have enough buffer stock, it tells me that he has very little appreciation of the situation on the ground.
I see. So at what point should the resettlement process really start? Because we understand that now the waters have started receding.
No, let me make that point. The waters are receding downstream because the spillage, the excessive spillage is being stopped. But now there's a calculated spillage. The water is still flowing, but in a calculated manner. The excessive one is stopped. So waters that have spread to areas that they've never been before, that water has never been in 50, 70 years, of course it will recede back to its original channel. The estuary, the water will now flow in the original estuary into the sea. And the tributaries. But upstream, that is behind the dam, the basin, the lake area, the waters are not receding. The water levels, as at this morning, the water levels are around 276.92 or so feet. That's a foot shy of the maximum 278 feet. So the water level in the dam is still nearly at its brim.
And Dr. Matopoko Pempe said this, and we'll put that on the screen right there. It says, it is never true that there is a point mark for VRA to spill. What is true is that there is a point mark for the dam's integrity, which VRA works towards. And he can say that going forward, nobody can stand anywhere and say it won't happen again. And I recall that you had been here a few weeks back to make the point about the point where when the levels of the water get to, there has to necessarily be a spillage. The Energy Minister contradicts that point. He's challenging that point that you put out there. There's really a point that there has to be a spillage. It's the integrity of the dam that is taken into central focus and consideration at any point in time.
Yes, he misunderstood my question. After he addressed the chamber,
on the floor of Parliament.
after he addressed the chamber, I asked him, and I wanted to find out at what point is VRA mandated to spill. And then he made the technical point that when the dam, when the sanctity of the dam is threatened. Now, under what circumstances would the sanctity of the dam be threatened? It is when the water levels are approaching the maximum. That is the basic reasonable understanding. And the maximum water operating level for the dam is 278 feet. So, as an institution, if you calculate that your inflows are such that you cannot contain water up to the maximum level of 278 feet, what do? You will spill. So these are the things you should be telling people, and not say that there's no point that the VRA will be mandated to spill. Because once the integrity of the dam is threatened from about 275, 276, 277 feet, 278, you will spill. Especially taking into consideration the volume of inflow. It's a simple hydrological cycle. How much water is filling the dam is such that if I spill, I will still be able to receive enough water to operate the hydro. That's all.
You see, on debate about the resettlement,
yes,
the energy minister was clear that where the flooding has been occurring every year, upstream north, there's a resettlement package.
Yes, I'll speak to that. I'll address that.
That is sent every year to you.
It's not true.
It's not true.
Yes, as we speak, VRA hasn't given the entity. You see, VRA has a subsidiary called the Volta Trust Fund. It is the trust fund that manages the resettlement communities. That's how Nkrumah established it. A hive of that mandate to an entity called the trust fund. So the VRA trust fund, by statute, is to receive $500,000 every year from VRA, the mother company, to be able to handle all these matters and manage the resettlement communities.
$500,000?
Yes.
Every year?
Yes. Those who are on the board, who are on the trust fund board, tells me that for the past 2 or 3 years, VRA has not remitted that amount of money to the trust fund to be able to undertake all these activities. Then, out of panic, they released some 2-point-something million to them, I think a couple of days ago. So the trust fund hurriedly met yesterday to consider some of these matters. But let me add that even VRA has not finished constructing the resettlement communities for traditional areas whose lands were lost in the deluge during the construction of the dam. Like Tongo traditional area, they are supposed to have 3 different resettlement communities. They got only 1. 2 are outstanding. They have not received compensation for their lands lost.
Okay.
Todume has not received compensation for their lands lost. Tokpalime has not received compensation for their lands lost. So then there are a lot of other traditional areas who are, some are in court, some have also petitioned the trust fund pursuing compensation. And so this matter, which is of currency, has given momentum for those people to further pursue their compensation matters with VRA in terms of the farmlands.
Right.
By the arrangement, VRA ought to have done the road construction for these resettlement communities. The resettlement communities are supposed to have community managers, like the mayors for these communities. They have abandoned all these arrangements in the law. So nobody manages these resettlement communities. The buildings are falling to desuetude. They're in a state of dilapidation all over. If you go to the Kwao area, to the Afram area, to Kajeji area, to Yeji area, to the Bole area, all the way to Krachi, down to Todume, Tongo, Kaira, all the way. Aveme, all those areas where we have resettlement communities. The communities have been abandoned. You understand? Right. So we need to revisit this matter.
Okay, indeed. And as the Interministerial Committee, from what the Energy Minister is saying, was continuing its job, we will see especially how the coming days will look like on the very germane issues that you have raised about the resettlement,
yes,
and who has to bear the burden of this resettlement, and then also how swift this resettlement has to be, especially because the people who have been affected are still reeling under the impact of this spillage. But exactly a week ago, the new Patriotic Party elected its flag bearer for the 2024 general elections. To many, it was of no doubt that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was going to win. But the the showdown of Kennedy Japan also created or introduced a narrative to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's victory. But what did he really mean when he said he's going to be his own man? What's the message in there? Take a look.
Ghana has given me everything, every opportunity and grace. I have dedicated my life to give back and to serve this wonderful country to the best of my ability with every breath in my body. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have my own vision and my own priorities. Given the opportunity by you, the people of Ghana, to lead, I shall govern as my own man with guidance from God Almighty. My vision is to build an inclusive, food self-sufficient, data-driven, and systems-based nation that will fully participate in the global digital revolution to resolve our problems and also to usher in a golden age of benefits from our natural resources. I want to lead a nation that improves and unleashes the talents of our youth and offers good jobs with good pay and sustainable growth with macroeconomic discipline.
Well, that's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, flag bearer-elect of the new Patriotic Party, still the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. Professor Jampo will speak to that twin effect on governance. But he polled 118,210, representing 61.43% of the total valid vote cast. And Kennedy Ohene Japan, 71,996, 37.41% of the total valid vote cast. Also Free Akoto, 1,459, and Francis Adainimo follows in that order with 781. Council, Dr. Bawumia's standout message in there that he will be his own man with his own vision. I've had many make reference to the fact that he didn't want to go on the path of the late John Evans Atta Mills, who said that he was going to consult the late Jerry Rawlings 24/7, and that went against him politically, or you used that against him politically, that he was going to be his own man. But it's going to take a lot more than just a statement from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia like this, that he will be his own man, is it not?
As far as I know, Dr. Bawumia has always been his own man.
He's always been his own man?
Of course, but in our constitutional arrangement, the vice president is expected to assist the president to deliver on his vision. And so that's why the constitution, apart from clearly assigning the role of being chairman of the police council and the armed forces council, every other assignment is at the behest of the president. And so when your responsibility is to assist somebody to deliver on his vision, that is it. That's the only thing that you can do. Now, he has been elected as presidential candidate, of course, to lead the new Patriotic Party into the 2024 presidential elections. He has to send that clear message that for 7 years, I have been an assistant. And given the opportunity to be president, I shall lead the nation according to my own vision and priorities. No president comes into office to implement the vision of another person, because you would have put the vision before the Ghanaian people and you would have explained to the Ghanaian people what your social contract entails. And if they agree with you, they give you their mandate. And once the mandate is granted to you, it becomes an obligation to govern according to the terms of the social contract which you put before the people. So Dr. Bawumia needed to make that clear. But he just didn't stop there. He gave a glimpse of what that vision entails. And like we heard him rightly saying, that it would mean an inclusive, food self-sufficient, database and systems-driven kind of leadership, which would usher our country into that fourth industrial revolution. There's nobody who denies that the future of the world is digital, and that nations which would prepare themselves in anticipation of the arrival of the fourth industrial revolution are those countries that will reap the full benefits of that revolution and spread prosperity amongst these people. Recently, PwC did a paper on the impact of digitization on the economy and job creations. And they concluded that the key driver to economic prosperity and job creation is digitization. And they estimated that in last year alone, it contributed about $193 billion to economies around the world. It sends a signal.
This is the global impact.
Absolutely. So it sends a signal that nations must take steps to prepare themselves in order to reap the full benefit. But he just didn't speak about this data-based, system-driven kind of leadership. He said it will be anchored on macroeconomic discipline. All the political parties agree that the major problem afflicting our country's development has been the lack of macroeconomic discipline. And that's why since 1957, we have been to the International Monetary Fund for 17 times. And on each occasion, it has been the result of poor macroeconomic environment. All right? And so he makes a point.
What is he going to do differently? I mean, yes, there is that continuous sin of macroeconomic mismanagement and indiscipline. But I've seen already the records comparison going on. But there's a problem we're confronted with now, and the problems that would confront us in the future going forward. What is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia willing to do differently from what is being done now? Because you've considered that we have been indisciplined in managing our macroeconomy, which has led us to this economic quagmire that we find ourselves in. What is he going to do differently? Because he is part of the crop of people leading this country now.
Some of the measures are already being rolled out, and the results are beginning to show. All right? So, for example, as of November 2022, our currency had depreciated by around 54%. From February to today, the available data showed that the depreciation level is 3.1%. That has been a significant turnaround from the situation that we found ourselves in 2022. Headline inflation, which was around 55%, at the end of September this year, is currently doing 38.1%. All right? Debt to GDP ratio is declining. All of these things are as a result of the interventions that have been made since the beginning of this year. So, and he has made a promise that these interventions are things that he would continue to do. Unfortunately for us, it will be the first time since 1957 that we will be electing an economist, because the heart of the Ghanaian problem has always been the economy. And for the first time, if he wins the 2024 election, we'll be putting in place a technical person to run the affairs of our national economy.
You don't know that the performance of the currency, as you did make reference to, is as a result of a number of factors. Also, majority of it also being the suspension of our external debt servicing. You know that?
Yes, right? I know that.
That we are not, since the beginning of the year till now, not servicing our external debt. So the impact that it has on our city, whenever we're servicing the external debt, is off. And so the city is enjoying some respite as a result of that suspension of the external debt servicing.
The suspension
that is also having a significant impact on the performance of the city. I just wanted to underscore that since you left that out.
It isn't material because
really?
The suspension is a policy intervention by government.
Because we are the IMF.
Exactly. The decision to go to IMF is in itself a policy decision.
Which you were unwilling to go.
But Cabinet took the decision to go, and the President approved of that decision. So it's a policy decision by government, because government had assessed that that intervention would restore macroeconomic environment into a very suitable one for businesses to operate. And so government took that decision. So apart from the fact that he spoke clearly of what his vision entails, his victory means a lot for the New Patriotic Party. Professor Jampo is here, political science professor, and he would concede that the NPP has been at the receiving end, actually since 1947, of being, with the greatest of respect, an Akan exclusive party, in which the rest of the country are essentially spectators. And so since 1992, what our opponents have done have been to construct an identity-based coalition, sort of, against the New Patriotic Party. So they say to Nana Khan, look, this New Patriotic Party is not a party that you should belong to. This New Patriotic Party would never give you an opportunity to lead. I saw a video of the General Secretary a few days ago, and the confidence with which he dismissed the possibility of a Dr. Baumia leadership of the New Patriotic Party was so amazing, because they were fortified in their view that under no circumstance would a party, all right, predominantly Akan, go and elect somebody from the northern part of our country. And this concern, I've made the point earlier, has been expressed by many, including academics, both local and foreign. And quite a few days ago, I cited Professor Paul Nugent, who was a director of Africa Center at Edinburgh University, when he was speaking at Cheltenham on 19 December 2012, just after the 2012 presidential elections. And he made the point that to understand the NPP's problem, that you needed to pose a question whether the NPP would ever be ready to elect a candidate from the northern part of the country. The decision on 4th November clearly has dealt a decisive blow to this propaganda that the NDC has consistently used against the New Patriotic Party in any election. And that puts the NPP in a very better position to compete for every vote across the length and breadth of our country in 2024. But it is not just the significance of he being a northerner, but it also, and he made that point strongly throughout his speech, that for people who have long held the belief that the NPP is not their political home, that the decision of the delegates is a clear invitation to them that it is possible for them to also be elected to lead the New Patriotic Party. Alfred, and for one thing that stood out, and I must emphasize that point, was his concession on the difficulties that we have been faced with right from 2021 through to 2022.
Well, he said that
rather than saying that
we are faced with difficulties, Ghanaians are going through hardship. After conceding the hardship, who takes the responsibility for that?
Rather than saying that Ghanaians are engaged in purposeless lamentations, or that he is a dead goat, or he would sing in Ethiopia, he said to them, look, I share in your pain, all right? I recognize that the economic crisis has brought untold hardships. I recognize that it has destabilized incomes, all right? And I am much concerned as any other Ghanaian.
Now, after expressing the concern, then what next? Who takes responsibility for this? he did not take responsibility for that as chair of the economic management team that has led us to this hardship that he concedes the Ghanaian people are carrying.
The president has addressed the nation on a number of times on these economic difficulties and has accepted fully the responsibility. All right? There's no... The debate on the economic crisis is unanimous. We all agree that there's a crisis. It is the question, the disagreement has been what occasioned the crisis. So, whereas we, in the New Patriotic Party, attribute the situation to the devastating impact of COVID-19 and Putin's aggressions in Ukraine, as well as the banking sector. When Dr. Bawumia spoke last year at Kasua, he identified it as a quadruple warming, not just the twin difficulties that the world is going through, but also the expensive banking sector cleanup that we had to embark upon to save depositors as many as 4 million people. Alfred, could you have imagined the wailing at Makola Market that our mothers and sisters would wake up one day and not have access to their savings?
But you also ignore the social cost that this decision, the sole singular decision to clean up the banking sector, the way you did,
coming, Alfred, let me make this point. Let me make this point. So when we say that there's economic crisis, in fact, the president said that never in his entire life has he witnessed a malevolent of forces afflicting our nation like we witnessed in 2021 and 2022. So that admission and acceptance of responsibility has been firmly established. We have never run away from that responsibility. The question has always been what occasioned the crisis.
Which you only relate to just the
Alfred,
COVID.
Interestingly,
you said it's because of COVID and Russia-Ukraine.
And Mr. Mahama agrees with us. When he was speaking at the Harvard Business School in April, I don't know whether it was this year or last year, citing data from Economic Commission of Africa, he said that the major problem afflicting global economy has been the devastating impact of COVID-19 and Putin's actions in Ukraine. And he went on to say that these two crises have visited on economies around the world, especially in Africa, our worst recession in 50 years.
So if you make reference to foreign audience, they agree with us. That statement and then ascribing it to solely this twin effect, and yet the IMF talks about inherent challenges within its own assessment of the state of the economy, which also exacerbated the situation that we're dealing with. Are you saying that the IMF was...
They did not just say...
I just wanted to... Are you saying that the IMF's diagnosis of our economic crisis, having its own internal factors contributing to where we are, is a wrong diagnosis of the state of the economy? To say that the IMF said inherent weaknesses is vague, because they provided specifics of what those inherent problems were. The banking sector cleanup, the excessive the unconscionable pay or take agreements that we went into. In fact, the World Bank country director described it as the worst decision of the Mahama era. So they identified the inherent weaknesses. And it is not just the World Bank that is telling us. I've just told you that when Dr. Bawumia spoke at Kasua, he identified it as a quadruple warming, and he cited these same matters that the World Bank and the IMF have cited. All right? So the point I'm making is that the candidate of the New Patriotic Party, rather than being dismissive of the concerns of the Ghanaian people, was honest enough to concede that people are going through challenge, that inflation has taken away incomes, and that it has imposed significant cost of living on the Ghanaian people. That, for me, is worth mentioning, that a leader would make such a concession, which clearly departs from what we have known our politicians for. They will come and dismiss it and say, look, you are engaging in purposeless lamentations and all the things that you are talking, you think fuel is up. I will come back, and then let's go to Lawyer Martin Pibble, and then I'll go straight to on this other matter as well, because you concede that there is the mismanagement of the macroeconomy, and the vice president, flag bearer-elect of your party, is a chair of the economic management team, which has led to this mismanagement that you concede. how are you going to convince Ghanaians that he coming back as flag bearer is going to do anything different? I'll come back to that. Lawyer Martin Pebu, the election of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as flag bearer of the NPP and all these attendant matters, if he comes to you and says, well, just as Council was saying, I was elected to assist the president in my role as vice president. So some of these decisions that have led to this economic situation that we find ourselves in, I am going to do differently. How would you take that?
I'll dismiss it with the contempt that it deserves. I mean, I'll be taken for a fool to even, you know, listen to him with rapt attention. As soon as he starts a sentence and I know that this is where he's headed, I just stop him and say, look, my brother, I think that you should tell that to the Marines. Tell that to the Marines. After all the sweet promises, the misrepresentations, the false statements, the grandstanding, he will have the effrontery. No. That's how come I find his election as I'm like, sometimes I just wonder, I'm like, what are we doing? That after all the misrepresentations, the false statements, the grandstanding, he still got elected. No, somebody just developed a database of the promises that he made, okay, prior to 2016, right? And we have at least 26 of them. At least 26 of them. They said they will strengthen the CD, they will build concrete roads. Look, let's just run through a few of them. In 18 months of an MPP government, no community in Ghana will have water or toilet problem. Please, and it's on Ghana Web. 2, under an MPP Akufo-Addo government, the economy will grow and grow and grow. And there will be jobs and jobs and jobs. 3, if the fundamentals of the economy are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. 4, we have arrested the depreciating CD and given the keys to the IGP. 5, an MPP government will move Ghana from taxation to production. 6, NDC has resorted to increasing taxes under the economic difficulties they created. An MPP government will do differently. 7, we don't have to borrow for roads. All we need is to tow the roads. The money is here. 8, we will start constructing roads with concrete instead of asphalt. 9, we are building a new harbour in Cape Coast. 2020 MPP manifesto launch. 10, we are building model SHS in Zongo communities in each of the 16 regions of the country. 11, we will build hostels for Kayaye. 12, we will build a Dubai medical city. 13, Momo is for the poor. It will not be taxed. Yet, he was part of the government that imposed e-levy on us. 14, Bawumia secures 18 billion Chinese loan for Ghana. 18 billion. Where is it? 16, free internet for university and SHS students. 16, Kayaye won't pay taxes under MPP. 17, the MPP government has created 2 million jobs. 18, the MPP government has paid 17 billion for excess capacity. Ask John Jinapo, he's tackled them, now they've fled. 19, we'll replace textbooks with laptops for SHS students. 20, we'll remove taxes on sanitary pads, as we speak now, and so on. 21, we will build a new satellite campus of UDS in Yendi. 22, MPP would have built 1,000 factories with a 40 billion loan. 23, Ghana's motor insurance database, first of its kind in Africa. 24, Ghana's interoperability between the bank accounts and mobile accounts is first in Africa. It turned out to be lies. 26. Right. Ghana's motor insurance database is more advanced than that of the UK, and so on. 26. And you
Airport in Cape Coast.
Airport in Cape Coast, very, very deceitful. So I said a man, I look at it and I'm like, this man is giving John Mahama an easy pass in 2024.
Is that the case?
Yeah, easy pass, Baumia. Oh, no, he will be routed. And that's how I have pain. That's why I keep calling on the churches to come together, the churches and the TUC, because they have numbers, so that we'll present another candidate to rival Mahama, because it's clear that Baumia is not the man to rival Mahama. We need to be able to show that we have a wealth of...
That's your assessment?
Yes. Baumia is not the one to rival Mahama. No. You think Ghanaians, we are fools? Now we sit here, we are suffering. Look at the exchange rate, right? From the beginning of 2022, from about 6 cedis. Today, you're paying anywhere between 13 and 14 cedis. It's so expensive when you have debts in dollars and pounds sterling. You're crying every day. Ask people who have debts. Well, okay, we are always watching the cedi exchange rate. We are always living on the edge. We are always in anxiety. Your government took so much, the DDEP, pensioners' money, all this, and you say that I will vote for Baumia. Oh, well, please, I will entertain him. Look, TUC has to sit up, TUC and the churches, they have to come together and get another candidate to rival Mahama. Because when you read it, it's like, so are we saying that in Ghana, we don't have enough men, we don't have enough credible and competent men to rival Mahama? That's what I see. Alan is not one of those, because he sat in the Akufo-Addo ship for too long, and the ship sank with him. That's how come Alan is not, for me, a viable candidate to rival.
You don't
Mahama.
see Alan Chamanting having any significant impact in the upcoming election?
No, he would do something to damage the MPP. It's good for that purpose. He will draw part of their votes. But what I'm looking for is that the TUC, in the past, in the 70s, TUC had a party, right? They should sit down again, look at it, come together with the churches. I've been saying that we will send a petition to the Christian Council. They should come together, because, look, now, to just present Mahama alone is to say that in Ghana, we don't have leaders. I mean, 32 million people. They're saying that apart from Mahama, there's no other person who can help govern this country. But you know the way the system works. That's how come Socrates, through Plato, they said, look, democracy is not good. Democracy is not good because of the selection system. We all know that the secret is that to be able to run a presidential election, you need what? Hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions. So it leads to an adverse selection. You see, our current democratic system, it leads to adverse selection. We end up selecting the one who has the deepest pockets, or the one who can get the business people to bring in money. And that's how come our democracy is flawed. I mean, you read Plato's Republic, and so he makes suggestions like, we should, in the Philosopher King, those leaders, some people should be separated, trained, okay, for this purpose years before, right? And they begin to rule after age 50. But I'm interested in the training bit and the fact that they say that those leaders should not own property. Yeah, in the Republic. He says that, look, to stop corruption and this, the leaders should not own property. So I've been thinking about it. Should we be going back there in the next constitutional...
I'm actually teaching this semester.
Thank you. Yes. I'll come and sit in the lectures more, because, I didn't read political science. It's true, coming here that now I'm reading to catch up, to understand. Because you read, and that book, Prof, thank you, you can add more. They tell you that, you see, Western democracy is built on the writings of Plato. The Western democracy we all aspire to is built on the writings of Plato. Even if we come to the church, the same thing, Christian doctrine and thinking, also built on Plato. At that time, at a point in time, okay, the Dark Ages and all that stuff, Augustine, the Catholic saint, when he came in, there were issues. They had to build on the writings of Plato. So you hear... St. Augustine's. They had to build on the writings of Plato. So today, Christian doctrine, a lot of writings in the church are also based on the writings of Plato. So you see, that's how I come every day. I'm quoting Plato. Of course, he's also saying those are the ideas of Socrates. You say, and from Plato, his student Aristotle, right, also came and criticized him. Then they refined the ideas. So I'm talking about how ideas are refined. So, and the point is that Plato is said that, he says, Socrates said it, the leader should not own property. He should not own property. Should we be going back there? Should we be going back there so that we can deal with the corruption? all this, how many minutes I've been talking so far, it's all because of the corruption. Politicians will come and lie to us. That's where the problem is.
Are we faced with that credible threat of this situation of money taking over?
Absolutely. That is where the whole problem is. That is where the whole problem is. So until we can, you know, just face up to the problem that, look, it's money that is destroying us, this corruption. The way, like, you see, you've seen Sister Dapa's money, right? Yeah, so much money, over $1 million, and then $1 million, then 300,000 pounds in her bedroom. You see such a thing? Of course, we haven't even talked about the bank accounts. You look at the other cases, okay? Then you look. You remember the case of the polytanks and all that. So the mix is that Bawumia has been part of this administration. And I keep saying that, look, if Bawumia wasn't like Akufo-Addo, our bad leader, Bawumia wouldn't have survived till now. If Bawumia wasn't as bad as Akufo-Addo, he wouldn't have survived as vice
What exactly
president.
do you mean by
remember Akka? You remember Akka? Akka disagreed with Rawlings and they fought. Have you ever heard Bawumia fighting Akufo-Addo? No. No. You see, Akka told Rawlings, no, I'm not like you. You see, Akka fought Rawlings. Have you seen Bawumia fighting?
So, in making reference to that example, what exactly do you intend to communicate?
Yeah, so what I'm communicating is that show me your friend and I'll show you your character. Sometimes that's how it is. Akufo-Addo himself has said that Bawumia is economic messiah, and his wife said, oh, my husband is an economic whiskey. My husband is an economic whiskey. Look, I sent that thing to Atu that he should play it when Akufo-Addo stood on a campaign platform and said, Bawumia eba be so sikesidi num oba be ya manyoma koyie. He said under Atamil's mama, Kufuor, 1 cedi, $1. It came to Atamil's mama, 1 cedi, $1, 3 cedis. And that if it was he, Akufo-Addo, he would have resigned. So what I'm saying is that these are the promises that they made. And for 6.5 years, it's almost 7, so let's just call it 7 years, and looks likely for the 8th year. They've rather retrogressed us. You know what they've done, the IMF that we had to go to, debt to GDP went to 104% and all that. It will take at least a decade to right all the wrongs. So for Bawumia to be in charge of an economic management team that has taken us to IMF, debt to GDP rose to 104%. Right now, the exchange rate has stabilized a bit because we are not paying external debts. We are now trying to wrap up. As soon as we start paying, it will go up. Inflation is 38% the last time, right? How are we going to reward such a man with another, victory in the elections? Why? Are we fools? The Americans will say, is the economy stupid? Is the economy stupid? After we experience this kind of economic hardship, right? This kind of economic hardship, you go to buy a ball of kinky, you need no less than 5 cedis. When they came, how much was it? You could buy a ball of kinky with what? 1 cedi. A ball of kinky you could buy with 1 cedi today, you need 5 cedis. Fish, at least 7 cedis. You come to cocoa, even cocoa crown now, you can't buy with 1 cedi, you need 3 cedis. Go to the other examples. Prof, you said Gary soaking. So what was the figure you gave? Gary soaking is a granite. So if you ask me, that Bawumia can come and tell me that after rendering us so wretched, after throwing us into a deep economic crater, he will have the effrontery to say we should vote for him again. Boy, Charlie, this one, they're not on this F. And Mr. Ocansey, let me mention this. Let me mention, I'm very, very critical as part of it.
While you round up.
Bawumia, to just show that, look, let's ask Bawumia, was he not in this country where in 2020, 5th October, the Auditor General issued a statement that the 52.5 billion that was said to have been lost, they are looking for it, okay? Auditor General said so. If Bawumia is interested in fighting corruption, from 5th October 2020 till date, I was just checking with Mr. Domlevo and Mike Afo, who is petitioning the Speaker of Parliament to take that matter up. Is Bawumia interested in the 52.5 billion that we couldn't find? Is Bawumia interested in that money? Is Bawumia interested? Okay. Mr. Ocansey, please let me read the letter just briefly. Just 1 minute, I beg you.
You round up for me with that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So the point is that Bawumia hasn't shown that he has the strength, he has anything that it takes to be able to lead this country. See, West problem, as we say, is about accountability, the corruption that is killing us. To the extent that he is part of the Akufo-Addo government, the government that even before COVID was already struggling, and which the finance minister admitted to in the letter to the IMF. That was what I was trying to prove, but listen, because of time. So I'm interested in this letter. Mr. Ocansey,
while you do that, I would...
December 2020, the Auditor General's letter, press statement. You know, Kevin Taylor was making noise about the 52.5 billion. And they said they are looking for it. That's what the Auditor General said, that they are looking for that money because, you know, the Bank of Ghana is supposed to keep the money, but Oforiatta gave instructions that several GCB, they were keeping money in an unlawful account. And Auditor General said they are working on it.
Right.
And listen to this. He said, once again, we wish to assure the public that, as usual, we shall submit an audit report to Parliament when the exercise is completed. Till date, there is no report to Parliament.
All right, so is the question to the Auditor General.
Yes, and I'm saying Bawumia is sat in this economy. Have you heard him say anything about it?
So it's a question to the Auditor General to then answer.
52.5 billion.
And it's interesting you make reference to the Auditor General because you also have an issue, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we'll come back to later. The Right to Information Commission awarding that fine of 30,000 cedis slapped on the audit service for not giving information that you, Martin Kpebu, requested about how some 150 people were employed by the audit service without going through the right process of even advertising those vacancies. We don't even know how they were employed. So we will come back to that. But Professor Ransford Jampol, now, after all is said and done, the NPP is looking at leveraging on the candidature of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to break the 8 or to win election 2024. Now, based on what happened on Saturday and the incumbency disadvantage, which you made reference to the last time we spoke about the baggage of this administration, which Dr. Bawumia cannot also extricate himself from, even if he came in as an assistant to the president. Will the candidature of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia help the NPP break the 8?
Well, it depends on how he fights hard to extricate himself from the baggages of this particular administration. The party met and they decided to give him the nod to lead the party and to lead it as a flag bearer. There are things that the Constitution talk about, you know, when you talk about the role of the Vice President. Essentially, you are expected to be assisting the President. But typical of many politicians, even though they know their mandates, and they know the limitations that are placed on their mandates, they are the ones who go about making all manner of promises. So members of parliament would make all manner of promises, and then when they are subjected to straight proof, they will tell you that I'm not supposed to be doing X, Y, Z. Meanwhile, in the lead up to your elections and your electioneering campaign, you promised heaven. So in the lead up to the election that brought the MPP into office, the vice presidential aspirant or the running mate to President Akufo-Addo himself, through series of lecture series, also made a lot of promises to the good people of Ghana. Now, how he is able to tell Ghanaians that the promises he's made have been redeemed will be critical. And then also, for me, it's not about all the tokens that do not reflect in the lives of the people. How anybody is able to convince Ghanaians that the living standards of Ghanaians are better today than they used to be prior to 2016 will be crucial. And I do not want any politician to tell me that things are better. Okay? You do not understand my problems better than myself. And so where there is good governance, listen, I've always defined good governance as being the effective and efficient management of scarce resources such that it translates into developmental outcomes that can be tangibly reflected in the lives of the people. And so if you have governed well, I should be able to tell you that things are okay for me. That was the reason why J. Kufuor went about the cliche saying that she was sitting in Natuaba. Okay, so it is up to Ghanaians to decide whether things are better today than they were prior to the coming into office of the MPP. If things are better today, Ghanaians will speak. And that would speak to the candidature of the success or the electoral fortunes of Dr. Bawumia. And it's up to him to also explain how he believes that things are better for all Ghanaians today than they used to be in time past. And how he is able to convince all of us to accept that is an uphill task that I believe is set for him. How he is able to tell us the kinds of things that are going to be done tomorrow, which he cannot do today, and how that sounds convincing to us, presents also another uphill task for him. And then also in my own analysis of situations, it is difficult. But look at it. The history of electoral politics of Ghana show in my analysis that anyone who went out of his way after being elected as a flag bearer of a political party, who went out of his way to become, president, garnered a certain percentage of vote in his own internal party contestation. And I'm looking at people getting 80 to 90%. I mean, when they garnered those votes, then they went out of their way to become president. But it was difficult. I realized that Dr. Bawumia had 61%. And if I disaggregate, okay, you can see the contribution of the President Akufo-Addo and the government machinery to that, the vote 61% that was garnered. If you do the disaggregation, you are likely to see, I mean, to be fair, it should be at the minimum 30%.
30%.
Okay. So you can say no. At the minimum, sorry, 50%. So 50% of the 60%.
That okay. Dr. Bawumia got?
No. 50% of the 60%, I'm arguing, would have emanated from the support given by the machinery government to
the Dr. Bawumia.
So then you can say that then he brought on board 50% also of the 61%. And with that kind of vote that you have, then it tells you that your own party base, it appears that you do not have much support even among your own party base. And that was why I was thinking that when he was elected, he would have spent much time in talking about rallying people behind him, talking about genuine reconciliation, talking about unity. But unfortunately, he went on a certain tangent that, I mean, a long speech. I admit that people were saying that he'd been critiqued, that he wasn't being heard much on policy, and so he wanted to use that opportunity to be talking about what he could do and then all the policy prescriptions. But I thought that he could have used that time to talk about unity and the need for him, for all to rally behind him. He didn't do that. And so my point is that the election of Dr. Bawumia as the flag bearer of the MPP it presents a certain uphill task in the party's attempt to break the 8th. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but it is difficult, particularly being able to tout your own. You know, you saw what Kennedy Japan did. He touted his own track record. I do not depend on the states. I employ over 7,000 people, and I pay them every month. I've opened these companies, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. He was touting his own track record. So Dr. Bawumia must also be touting his own track record in a manner that sounds convincing to Ghanaians. Okay, that is number one. Number two, he must be able to tell us that, look, there are things that I cannot do today. Even though I promised I was going to do them, I cannot do today. But tomorrow, if you give me the mandate, I will do them. If that sounds convincing. And then finally, what is for me the most important thing is how he is able to tell us that upon our own sober reflection and introspection into our living conditions, we think that things are better today than things were yesterday. And you see, that one, it is something I am passionate about. The essence of governance is to solve problems. The essence of governance is not to dance around problems and to proffer explanations to why the problems exist. If you read, I told you I'm teaching Plato's conception of the philosopher king. If you read that, Plato essentially is saying that governance is too serious a business to be left into the hands of anybody. If you look at the selection process of the philosopher king, okay, and the kinds of things that he's supposed to be doing, the standards are high. And so I am thinking that if Ghanaians would subject our leaders to strict proof in maintaining certain standards, it's not about talking about what you can do. It's about solving problems. Okay, but if you compare, let me be blunt, and I want to do that. You see, if you compare what was done previously, okay, to what is being done now, we've been shortchanged as a people. We had a lot of confidence. Look, in the history of electoral politics in Ghana, no political party has benefited for over 1 million votes difference in winning. It's never happened. Okay? It tells you the level of trust, the confidence that we had, you know, in this current regime. And one of the factors that brought about the level of trust and confidence was the kind of lectures that Vice President Bawumia gave. Yeah. Okay, it's suiting our soul, and we felt that President Mahama was that incompetent. Yeah. Okay, but it appears that this regime is super incompetent compared to the Mahama, to the Mahama regime. And I say this bluntly as it is, because, I mean, for the first time, you work and you get money in your hands, and you don't know whether to keep the money under your bed, like Cecilia Dapa, or you should go and dig somewhere, you know, in your bedroom, and because you are not trusting the banking system. My colleague here, I think he spoke so well as a gentleman, but some of the things that he said, I disagree. I mean, the banking sector cleanup was done with hatred and envy, and it was done with super incompetence. Yes. Okay, you don't spend more to achieve little. Yes. Okay, you talk about the refrain, COVID, and Russian-Ukraine war, without talking about the fact that there is corruption. You see, the first time that somebody like Professor Jima Bwidi, who taught me, who previously was seen as heading an organization, CDD, that people felt that was in bed with the MP. The first time I heard him speak about corruption and the record of President Akufo-Addo, my heart started beating. He said, as for President Akufo-Addo and his government, their track record in fighting corruption is in tatters. And I said, hey, this man, what are you saying? Just recently, I think this week, Ishmael Yamson rated President Akufo-Addo's government that Bawumia is among 4 over 10 in the fighting against corruption. And these are some of the things going on. Economic mismanagement. Clearly, you see, like I said, if power is entrusted in you, you see, very soon it will be difficult for politicians, because we are willing to preach some of these things And yesterday when I was teaching my students, I told them, now I'm not interested in your A or C or your F that you get, but I'm teaching you in the hope that tomorrow you have policy maker. And when you get there, you implement some of the things that we have taught. Okay? It is not about talking. It's about improvement in the physical quality of life of the people. And I get super annoyed when things are hard and then a politician sits and says that things are okay. How dare you tell me about my own living conditions? You do not understand my living conditions more than myself. And so, for politicians to say that things have been done right, and so they should be given the nod to go on, you should take a sample survey of the responses of the ordinary people and let them speak. Don't tell me this budget that is they are going to be reading. They are going to be touting macroeconomic nonsense that do not reflect into the do not reflect in the lives tangibly, of the people. And I'm saying that, look, we cannot continue on that tangent as a people, where you sit and you are listening to budget being read, and government is starting certain achievements, and they have given jobs. Every day I get people sending me CVs, asking me whether we can find jobs, and I'm saying, but the government has provided a lot of jobs. Why are you not getting into that opening? We've done this, we've done factories, we've done dams, we've done all these things. The kinds of achievements that our politicians are touting, let me repeat, they are like the religious miracles performed on crusade grounds by fake pastors. Okay. Oftentimes they are telling you that we healed this man, he was crippled, and then he's being healed. And nobody in the area, in the community, knows that cripple. Nobody knows them.
Important.
Nobody knows them. And these are the kinds of achievements that some politicians tout. I don't settle for that. I speak for Ghana. I speak for what is right. I am interested. We all cannot be traveling to be working in other people's countries. We want to stay in Ghana, and we want Ghana to be a better place. So let politicians be candid in admitting, look, we have not done well. If you give us another mandate, we think that we are going to be doing X, Y, Z. That appeals to me. But if you tout achievements that, in my view, do not tangibly reflect in my life, I get annoyed.
Well, what you see, if you, and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia talking about the hardship of the people, and then also saying he identifies with that without necessarily detailing that element of absolute responsibility, is where the concern has been raised. But I want to take you back with that reference you made about the number of votes Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia got. I want to understand that point you made about disaggregating the data.
No, what I'm saying is that
how much of an impact
there is no doubt. Listen, there is no doubt.
In previous instances, the first times that at least the first attempt to be elected as presidential candidate in previous instances by persons who have led the NPP, J. Kufuor, Nana Akufo-Addo, and in this case, Bawumia. J. Kufuor's first attempt, 51.9% in the 2000.
That was his second attempt.
And then in Nana Akufo-Addo, 47%
on his second attempt.
And this is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, 61.4% on his first attempt. So, are you saying that his impact as his personality did not have so much significance on the outcome of this 61.4% that he got?
No, I've not said that. And on this particular program or platform, I, at one point in time, spoke about the fact that I am reliably informed about his own campaign strategy that reached out to people unreached, people who hitherto would have described as unreached. I mean, the fact that he was able to get Dambuchi, of all people, to fully declare support for him, the Kwabena Japons and all that, for me, was commendable. But what I'm saying is that there's no doubt that he was the regime's candidate. And being the regime's candidate, the machinations and the strategies and the inducement that all went into this also played a significant role. And if you want to disaggregate the 61%, I am saying that to be charitable, it could be 50-50. And so if you are coming into such an election and you had 61% and your contribution is just 50% of 61%, then it means that even your own party you are not getting much of the support base. And I'm not saying that because of that, his party is going to abandon him. I'm saying that he could have used the first opportunity he had to harp more on the need for the party to rally behind him, to bring all on board. Look, what happened on TV and we saw, they were just merely for the cameras.
You think so?
If you speak, I mean, please, without research, I don't feed. They were merely for the cameras. And so more work will have to be done to make sure that within his own party, he's brought all on board. And if he does that, then he has the uphill task of, number one, telling us that about his convincing us about his own track record. Number two, telling us that there are things that are there, there are challenges that are there today. I'm not fixing those challenges, but give me the mandate tomorrow and I'll fix it. If that is convincing to Ghanaians, we'll listen. And then the third one is how he's able to convince me and the ordinary people that, look, things are better today than they used to be yesterday. Because, for me, that is the crux of the matter. That's the reason why we all teamed up and supported the bid of President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia to get into election, no, to be elected in the 2016, election with that kind of monumental support of the people. If that hasn't been able to be done, there should be an explanation to us. If it convinces us, the ordinary people, and the ordinary people wants to give him, they want to trust him. But you see, the current regime itself suffers from severe trust deficit. There's no trust. The current regime, generally, it suffers from. So if you see anybody as part of the regime, you don't trust the person. Suffers from severe trust deficit. And so, how are they going to build or rebuild public trust in them, such that whatever they tell us, we tend to agree? If you look at President Mahama now, he's having like a field day. I mean, everything and it's painful. You are going to have voices and videos being showed, voices being played about things that were promised, and you juxtapose it with things that are happening now. And it becomes difficult. So, my brother, I cherish the role you play. You spoke nicely. Dr. Bawumia is a fine gentleman and all that. But you see, the task ahead is difficult. Yeah, the task,
sure my response will provide clarity.
The task ahead is difficult. And I wish you guys well as you try to surmount that task.
Professor Jampo, thank you very much. And the Honorable Nelson Robson Dafagmo, even before this election of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, his team's position was that that even before the election, that he was the most potent candidate to lead the NPP, and that's why almost all your salvos were targeted at him, even though there were 3 other persons on test. He has been elected as the flag bearer of the NPP with 61.4% of the total valid votes cast. Does this send shivers down the spine of the NPP, as in fact the NDC, as the NPP has indicated?
Thank you very much. Let me state for the record that the NDC has been expectant of a Bawumia ticket.
Expectant?
Expectant.
Why?
Because that is the establishment candidate. For if you consider all the internal electoral arrangements, it was to favor only one person, that's Bawumia. So we have been prepared for him. And let the record again reflect. Bawumia made 2. The then flag bearer of the NPP in 2015, President Akufo-Addo. He focused his attention, now President Akufo-Addo. He focused his attention on His Excellency Pakwesi Emisata. That was what Bawumia did in this country. Every single lecture he organized in this country, he targeted Pakwesi Emisata. Why? Because he was the head of the economic management team to the president. And so the problems that he thought we were having at the time, he was not blaming His Excellency John Dramani Mahama too much. He was blaming the person who was put in charge of affairs. So what did he do? He organized a lecture, and at the end of the day, issued a communique and attached the content of the lecture by way of 170 questions and remitted it to the office of the then Vice President to answer. It became a matter of national interest. Today, if you read the contents of that 170 questions, it's a total reflection of the man that is being sold to us today to be bought. We won't buy it. It's an automotive commodity. We won't buy it. And Ghanaians know, Ghanaians are not buying it. For instance, it says that debt to GDP at the time had increased from 56% to 68%. Today, it is over 100%. My brother sits here and says that debt to GDP is declining. Declining from where?
There it is.
It is declining from which figure to which figure?
Fact, Fitch, you want an answer?
Yes.
A few days ago, Fitch, which had projected that the year would end with a debt to GDP of 89%, has revised it to 87%. So if you say it's over 100%, that's not correct.
No, at the time of the
I mean today, he's saying I said it is declining.
Yes. It is
but
not
it's
correct.
a matter of fact.
It is not correct.
It is not over 100%.
I am saying it is over 100%.
I have given a source.
And it is not declining. It is not declining. So that declination, we won't buy it. It is not declining.
Okay.
That's one.
But
that's one. That's one.
But
that's one. I'll give you the figures. That's one.
Yes. So if the details as put out by the estimates of Fitch is anything to go by, because of some of the expected agreements with external creditors and so on, they postulate a certain economic impact. That's what he's making reference to.
The GDP,
but I just think that I want us to...
It's not declining. That's the point I'm making. And it's a reflection of...
Are you comparing to what was there before?
No.
Or what is there now?
It is one of the bases Bawumia used to ridicule Pakwesi and Mr. Atta.
Yes.
It is worst under his watch. That's the point I'm making. Two.
Okay. But that's not to dispute the fact that there's been a decline.
My brother sat here. My brother sat here and said Dr. Bawumia should be credited with digitalization. What exactly does that even mean? Now, you give different nomenclature to computerization of our public service system. And you say you want to take credit for it? People like Victor Salome went to jail when they introduced computerization as system in the mid-90s. You people sit here and say digitalization. Digitalization began in the mid-1990s. You and I, we are practitioners. E-justice, as far back as 2010, e-justice was introduced. That was part of the digitalization of the process. In fact, to the extent that the judicial service, the judiciary at the time, placed the retired Court of Appeal Justice Apalu in charge of the e-justice project, transferring all judgments onto the digital plane. That was digitalization. So how come Bawumia suddenly is being credited for this?
800-kilometer
fiber. Thank you. That's the next point I'm making. The person who should actually be credited for advancing the digitalization process and project in the country should be His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
For the problem that we are faced with today.
Hold on. Can I?
What? Yes. Wait, let him proceed.
Can I finish?
Please.
You didn't listen to me. I said the person who started it, Victor Salome, you came to charge him and convicted him for doing such a marvelous thing in public service. You didn't understand what he was doing. You thought that he was causing financial loss to the state. Those were the beginning of what we can call the computerization of our public service system, which later you came to name as digitization. And then 2 years ago, you move away from digitization to digitalization. And I'm saying it's a nomenclature. It's a simile. It's a synonym. It means practically the same things. That is ability to access public service in a digital space. It's that simple. You recall that as part of the modern court complex, which houses 44 high courts,
yes,
as it is in Accra now, it came with a World Bank facility to advance in the e-justice project began in 2010. So you cannot, we are setting the record straight today. You cannot be credited for this. You may have come to advance it. That is what a government is supposed to do. But you are not the progenitor.
And who is leading the advancement?
Oh, today you are no longer an assistant to the president.
No.
Hold on. No. Today you are no longer an assistant to the president. You are now the one leading it. You see the illogicalness of
what's your point exactly?
My point is that Bawumia cannot be extricated from the economic meltdown that we are suffering in this country. He's at the center of it. So any attempt to say that, oh, I should be detached, I should be decoupled from the problems we have, and that I am capable of charting my own path, is a fallacy. It's a big lie that is being perpetrated to hoodwink the people. In fact, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, actually relied on the anticipated economic expertise of His Excellency Bawumia to assist him to deliver. Yeah. So, as an assistant to the principal, if the principal has failed abysmally, you cannot be absolved of any blame. So Bawumia is part of the problems we have. 3. He speaks of the financial sector cleanup. Can we today disaggregate the cost components of that? As parliamentarians, we have been asking the finance minister to come and tell us exactly what went into this euphemism called financial sector cleanup. To tell us how many consultants you hired, what were the level of their fees. So much so that 25 billion Ghana cedis is alleged to have been expended on an exercise, the quantum of which is estimated to be about 9 billion Ghana cedis. So like Professor Jampo said, how do you spend more to gain less? Who does that? It is actually one of the biggest scandals in this administration. It was a looting scheme. As we speak, men's gold customers are yet to be paid. When you ask them, they say men's gold is not part of the financial sector cleanup. How is that not possible? How is it that men's gold that was taking money from people and investing it for returns cannot be considered to be part of the financial sector cleanup? So how come the SEC
operating a gray area without
which gray area?
They want
appropriate
you to licensing?
They want you to build. Hold on, Ocansey. When you set up a company for a purpose at the Registrar General's Department, the purpose for which the company is set up is stated. Go and check the purpose for which Men's Gold was set up. So how come the SEC closed them down? If they were not operating the financial sector. So it is another lie being told us, so that all those categories of customers can just go to hell. Meanwhile, the monies we are told that is been expended on the financial sector cleanup, the quantum of which is 9 billion, is in excess of 25 billion. So even if you don't want to consider them under that, can't you within that bracket consider those category of customers and pay them? So this matter will be a subject of a future inquiry, this financial sector cleanup, because the amount of money involved is mind-boggling, and they are not willing to tell you how that money was expended. So for me, I can safely say that. Has Parliament been briefed in full detail as to exactly? I have filed a question. You filed a question. I've filed a question since early this year, and it's not been not been answered. It's been remitted to the office of the finance minister. It's not come to answer it. I am asking, tell us the cost component, the breakdown cost elements for the 25 billion Ghana cedi expended, the nature of the expenditure. That is the only way that people will appreciate truly that 25 billion was spent in what they call euphemistically a financial sector cleanup. What exactly they clean up, we don't know. And like Prof said, it was done viciously. They targeted some companies and simply crushed them. There are some companies that are still operating that ought not to operate by the standard they set. But as we speak, they're operating. So as for Dr. Bawumia,
data bank.
Well, so, as for Dr. Bawumia, we are ready. So look, all we need is a generator.
You're ready how?
We are ready for him. All we need is a generator and a projector. Who will use his own voices to sync him. Then finally.
But you have to wait. No. Let's explain.
Sorry?
You have to wait for him.
What is he going to explain?
Let's
number three. My brother sat here and said, as a nation, we've been to IMF 17 times. Suddenly, when we went to IMF and they sought to ridicule us, they didn't remember that we went to IMF at the time for 16 times. Suddenly, when it is their turn, we've been to IMF 17 times. So it is normal. So you see how hypocritical they are when it comes to these matters. They went to IMF for policy credibility, the same reason we went, the same reason. They even came to extend it. When you read their documents they submitted to IMF, it is also for policy credibility. But in this country, they ridicule the NDC for going to IMF for grounds of policy credibility. Today, they are even going there on a more grander scale of policy credibility. So, yes, as for Dr. Bawumia, he's been marketed, but the marketing philosophy and approach is completely gone. Today, Prof, 7 years ago, graduate students' school fees wasn't more than 5,000 in this country. Graduate students' school fees. Today, graduate students are paying about 25 to 30,000 Ghana cedis annually. And when they bring the admission fees to you,
even talk about the so-called nuisance taxes.
The
taxes that were described as nuisance.
I am appealing to a certain segment. I'm appealing to a certain segment of students. That when they told us that they want to make access to tertiary education more free, they are bringing economic blockade. That today you can have an admission, but you can't go to school. School fees, admission fees have become so high in our universities. Students are unable to pay. Taxes. Today, sanitary pad. People are crying. We've made a statement on the floor. We are pleading. Persons have brought petition. Even private members have filed. One of my colleagues, Sosu, has filed a private members bill to have that section of the tax law repealed. Right. That imposes a tax on sanitary pads, because it's an affront to achieving the fundamental human rights for adolescent women and girls and in general. It is not by their choice that they have to go through that cycle every month. Right. So as a state, we cannot be imposing tax on something that is natural and biological. Now,
smart borrowing, and reckless borrowing.
Yes, I think yes. They told us, as part of the one, look, me henceforth, I'm going to just take that 170 questions and just pose the contents to what's happening. He told us that we were borrowing. We built Terminal 3. Terminal 3 is part of the 24-hour economy. It's operating. The Tema Port Container Terminal, 24-hour economy. These are projects that are generating revenue for the economy. We built the University of Ghana Medical Center. It's generating revenue for the economy. We built the Rich Hospital that is the addition to the Ridge Hospital is generating revenue for the economy. We built the bank hospital. We built the maritime hospital in Tamale. They are generating revenue for the economy.
All right.
Today they have borrowed. They have taken the public debt from 120 billion Ghana cedis to nearly 600 billion. They should show me one single project that is generating revenue with this borrowing within the past 7 years.
Nelson Robson, thank you.
It's been spent on consumption.
And before we go for this quick break, just to state a few things. The IMF forecast, which you made reference to, and I talked about the expected developments which they forecast based on. This is what the details. They forecast a decline in the Ghana's debt to GDP from 92.4 to 84.9.
That's for the IMF.
In 2023, I'm coming.
Yeah.
That's according to the, in fact, I'm reading the October 2023 Fiscal Monitor Report is what I'm reading now from the IMF's own website. Now, this expectation of the debt to GDP falling consistently in the next 5 years is based on the expected external debt restructuring, which we are yet to achieve.
Yeah, the discussions are almost
the talks are ongoing.
Yeah.
From what we're gleaning, the external creditors do not want to take that 30 to 40% haircut that the finance minister announced, and they want them to take. Now, in 2024, they estimate that it's going to reduce to 81.5%. In 2025, 2026, 2027, they're talking about 78.8%, 75.8%, 72.8%. But the Fitch reference that you make, the devil is in the detail. And when you go into the Fitch website, fitchratings.com/Ghana, you will see this particular document. It is indeed the case that they forecast the expected decline of the public debt to GDP in general to 87%, as you made reference to, from 89% in 2022, driven by, and here's where they give the detail, that this expected decline in the debt to GDP is driven by the 50% haircut on the Bank of Ghana's holdings on non-marketable debt, which represent a debt reduction of 4.2% of the estimated 2023 budget. So it is because of this impact of the DDEP on the Bank of Ghana that led to it posting over 60 billion cedis loss. That is leading to this reduction, according to Fitch's own estimation, the reduction in the debt to GDP. So this reduction is coming at a cost to all of us. And the macroeconomic stability that we're experiencing now, at least based on the IMF's own evaluation, has also come at a cost to the ordinary people. The impact of the DDEP and then also the inflationary rates that we're having to deal with. And that's where the concern is. We will be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. This is Key Point.
This November, we've got a special gift for you.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready, we're treating all GoTV Super customers to the best of GoTV Super Plus. Enjoy non-stop Premier League action on a dedicated Super Sport channel.
The hottest shot in the history of the Premier League.
Delight the kids with the biggest teen icons on Disney Channel. Get starstruck with international movies and series on Studio Universal and Universal TV.
Damn.
And sample the best local shows on Africa Magic Showcase. So get ready to level up your entertainment with over 70 mind-blown channels as we give you the go from Super to Super Plus all November long. GoTV. Love it.
It's time for golden season. Time to try your luck. The rules are simple. You can place bets on any sports event. Get promotional tickets. Take part in prize draws. What's the season? It's golden season. Time to try your luck. Use the promo code to get your welcome bonus.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be...
Life can get hectic. And sometimes we forget to prioritize our well-being. That's where Vano Mineral Water steps in. A refreshing solution packed with essential minerals, Vano Mineral Water keeps you hydrated and balanced. Whether you're at home or work, Vano Mineral Water is there to keep you going. Don't let a busy schedule hinder your health. Make Vano Mineral Water a part of your daily routine. Share the love with Vano Mineral Water, the choice for a healthy, vibrant you.
This advert is FDA approved.
On the 25th of November 2023, the Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries West Africa Mega Region 1 Ghana will hold the 2023 Interdenominational Ministers Deliverance and Open Heaven Conference by 7 a.m. Dr. D.K. Olukoya, the General Overseer of the Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries, will be presiding over this meeting live at the Accra International Conference Center, Accra, Ghana. The Interdenominational Ministers Deliverance and Open Heaven Conference, Accra, Ghana 2023. For registration and how to be a part of this meeting, please visit www.mfmghanamegaregion.org/register or use the details on the screen. Don't miss this first of its kind International Ministers Conference in Accra, Ghana. Jesus is well with you. Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries. Surely the Lord is here.
You feel adrift as you transition into a new stage of your life. The future seems like a blank space until you discover the passion within. The canvas of the future is yours to paint. Welcome to a world of opportunities. Heritage Christian College, offering world-class university education, training compassionate entrepreneurial leaders.
From meeting Hollywood superstars like Jim Jones, Swiss Beats, and the like, to actually telling us a lot about his journey into the Grammys and into Hollywood. We don't really care. Pop, pop! We go pop champagne. We were at the Grammys this year. I mean, at the beginning.
It wasn't on government budget.
Oh, no, I know it wasn't. Was the media doing more harm than good to the industry, the creative arts industry, with some of the comments that we make?
I don't think we are intentional. Individuals are intentional, but as an industry, we are not intentional as to where we are going, what we hope to attain with the industry.
Ghanaian artists are being sidelined on the daily by some gatekeepers.
You can even tell a gatekeeper to go to hell. Let's make it a money conversation. If it's not about money, don't call my phone.
Adam Go Get Them joins us this week on The Day Show. Why go for crumbs if you can own the bakery?
For me, the idea behind this book is that we don't get to see that there's so much there is to life.
Mr. Roland Ofori is also here with us, so don't miss The Day Show this week right here on TV3.
The Day Show, Sundays at 3 p.m. on TV3.
This program is sponsored by Onga.
Cheese, go down and pose for the picture. Crack, crack, crack. I don't dance though, but I'm on TikTok. Crack, crack, crack. Go down and pose for the picture. Crack, crack, crack. I don't dance though, but I'm on
Your height?
5'7".
Is it 5'6" or 5'7"?
I think I'm 5'7".
Sure?
Yes.
Should I come in?
Okay, my bust is 34. My waist is 28. My hip 45.
If I ask you to give me 3 random quotes.
Mark your calendars and set your clocks. Ghana's photogenic beauty through the lens.
Ghana's most photogenic, premiering Saturday, 18th November at 8 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Pepsodent Charcoal and Lemon-Infused Formula and Pepsodent Natural Herbal Formula.
Welcome back to Key Point. Hold on. On TV3, we're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. And got this message says, at Harvard Business School, John Mahama indicated whereas COVID-19 ravaged economies in Africa, in the specific case of Ghana, the 2020 election spending resulting in the 17% budget deficit is the cause. Council Agba should read the statement by John Mahama on air in full detail. And that is from lawyer Eduji Tamaklo to you, because of the specific statement that you made.
The bottom line is that Mr. Mahama conceded that COVID-19 and the Russian aggression have had a devastating impact on African economies. Ghana is in Africa.
Well, but then again, he also rebuttal, isolated the Ghana situation. That's just a fact.
Alfred, the projection that I made reference to, which you have confirmed, the details are immaterial. What is material? What is material?
It is material.
What I said relative to the projection is true. And what he said relative to the debt GDP is not true.
But I don't think you would actually be right, respectfully. I don't think you'll be right to say that the details of the reason for the projection is immaterial. It is very material. Because if you take the Fitch details...
I have cited a lot of economic data without going into the details.
But, Counsel, I make reference to the fact that the details of the Fitch... No, I'm coming. The details of the Fitch report, which you make reference to, specifically details the reasons why they are making the projection for the reduction in the debt to GDP rate of this country. And the specific reason they give is because of the 50% haircut by the Bank of Ghana that led to the 60 billion cedis loss.
Is that our debt to GDP ratio has been projected to decline, contrary to his assertion that it is over 100%. I am right and he's wrong, fundamentally. Now, all the three...
the present figure.
Okay.
98.7 is 100.
I have listened to all three.
Is 100.
And I'm not convinced that they have made a strong case against the Bawumia bid to lead the party. All of them have said one thing, that Bawumia said things that he couldn't fulfill. It's a red herring. You know why? In 2020, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia presented what he called the manifesto assessment of the New Patriotic Party in Kumasi, where he publicly declared that after examining the over 500 promises that the NPP made to the Ghanaian electorate, we delivered on 70% of those promises. Inherent in that declaration is an admission that over 30% of the things that we said we would do, we were unable to do them.
30%.
So it is not new to say that NPP said they would do A and they didn't do it. In any case, you cannot be objecting to a Bawumia leadership on grounds that he said A and didn't do A whilst canvassing support for Mahama. Mr. Mahama told us that we're going to have 40% representation of women in his government. It didn't happen. He told us that he was going to pass the Right to Information Bill. It didn't happen. He told us that he was going to build a strong and resilient economy. He told us he was going to deliver a strong and resilient economy anchored on energy for all. What we got was Doomso for all for 4 years. He told us that he was going to deliver an annual growth rate of 8% per annum. For 4 years, he was unable to deliver, even on one occasion, 8% of GDP. He told us that he was going to keep deficit under 5% for 4 years. For 4 years, he missed that target. He told us, interestingly, that he was going to set up a local radio stations in each district of our country to carry out proceedings of our assemblies. Throughout his tenure as president, he was unable to do that. In his own Gonjaland kingdom, he sat before the late Yogbonwura Bawadoshi and promised the people of the region of creating a savannah region. He repeated it again under the late Yogbonwura Boresa. For 8 years that he was at the Jubilee House, he was unable to do it. He promised the Ghanaian people,
the state of the energy sector in 2016?
He promised the Ghanaian people that every young, able-bodied person willing and ready to work would be afforded a job under a Mahama presidency. For more than 4 years that he served as president, it was only under his era that we had Unemployed Graduates Association. He told us that he was not going to make... I'm coming.
Because you are going on and on, I just want to ask a specific question.
Yeah.
In 2016, you made reference to the Dumsor situation in 2015. Before the NDC exited power, what was the state of the energy sector?
The states were talking about what politicians have said and whether or not they were able to deliver.
Let's assume that whatever you have said
he said he was going to provide energy for all. For 4 years, we witnessed Dumsor for all.
So I'm only saying to you that in 2016, what was the state of the energy sector before the NDC exited?
In fact, as at January through to February 2017, we're still experiencing energy crisis, notwithstanding their declaration.
In this country?
Oh, yes, Google it.
What? In this,
Google it.
We were experiencing energy crisis.
You are connected to the internet.
We were experiencing energy crisis.
In 2017.
In this country.
You are connected to the internet, and Joy FM reported it in 2017. Notwithstanding their public declarations that they had fixed the problem. In this country. I say that you are connected to the internet.
Baumia said the energy crisis had been solved.
I am saying he's connected. When I made reference to things, he checked it.
You are saying in this country.
In this country.
In
When I
2017,
made, and in fact, and they issued a timetable to that effect, and you can check it. All right? He told us that he was not going to make excuses for corruption. He made excuses on corruption throughout his era as president. He told us
your best record of corruption is the West that he got.
He told us
your best record of
that he was going to amend that he was going to amend.
Okay, gentlemen, hold on.
Then
hold on.
We'll also come up with a rebuttal.
Okay, I gave him the three.
I don't know why I listened to all of them calmly.
Yes.
All right.
Round up.
He told us that he was going to amend the Shrad law to empower Shira to investigate corruption without an explicit complainant. For more than 4 years that he served as president, he was unable to deliver that. So there's no politician in this country. Unfulfilled promises cannot qualify as basis to reject a presidential candidate. Otherwise, all those running for president in 2024 will not be eligible. So it is strange that whilst my senior Pebu will recount the things, and this is important distinction.
Okay, Abba, I just wanted to say this. Let's ask, because you have limited time, and I decided to, by discretion, give you the time for reason. Now, you've listed all the unfulfilled promises of John Mahama.
And I was going to make a very important distinction that you interrupted.
And granted that all of these things were said, that's the reason why the Ghanaian people voted him out of power in 2016. Yeah. So, are you saying that based on that same yardstick, all the unfulfilled promises of the Nana Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration, the Ghanaian people should also take the same decision, look at that, and go on the same path and vote you out of power?
That's the point I was coming to make, that you interrupted.
Fantastic.
The significant difference between Mr. Mahama and Dr. Bawumia is this. Whereas Dr. Bawumia, as running mate, was speaking on behalf of candidate Akufo-Addo and the NPP, President Mahama was speaking on his own behalf as presidential candidate. And he was vested with the humongous executive authority of the state. And for more than 4 years, he was unable to fulfill numerous of the promises that he made to us. Mr. Kwevo recounts the things that Bawumia said as running mate on behalf of candidate Akufo-Addo. And on that strength, he says we should not vote for him. At the same time, he's campaigning for a man who as presidential candidate made promises that he was unable to fulfill after being entrusted with executive.
Thank you.
After being entrusted with executive authority.
Thank you. You see, in the end, after all of this is said and done, after all of this is said and done,
Alfred, in 5 seconds, that goes to Professor Jampo. I think his argument on 80% to 90% victory that can guarantee a win in the presidential race is unscientific.
Okay, thank you.
It is not supported by any history or data.
You've made your position.
It is not.
Council Agba Yusuf. Thank
Khomeini.
you. No. I mean, in the end, look, it is the Ghanaian people, as Professor Ramsey Jampo indicated, who will look at the state of affairs and where we find ourselves now.
Why?
To make a decision. So, no. Yes, you have made your point.
Alfred, just a second.
In a minute, because you made reference to Professor Jampo, I just want to have just a quick one.
I will not even respond to that if he's not seen that before. It's up to him. But you see,
that's not.
I cannot sit here for you to tell me that unfulfilled promises should not be used as a basis.
Because there's
to,
no
can
government,
you please,
there's no government in the world that
please, I didn't like what you were saying. I didn't like what you were saying, but I kept quiet, please. I cannot sit here for you to tell me that unfulfilled promises should not be used as a basis to reject the candidature of anybody. That is unfair to Ghanaians. That is unfair to our quest to promote good governance. That is unfair to our quest to promote political accountability. Please, you can make this point when some of us are not part of the panel. I will not allow you to fester this bogus idea. And then also the idea of trying to resort to the bogus practice of politics of equalization. You know, it offends me. X was not doing well. And so Y gave us a lot of hope that it is going to do better. Then it comes, Y comes, performs abysmally, and then resort to the practice of equalizing and comparing. Please, if you want to grow tall and you compare yourself to the dwarf, then you are not interested in growing.
And in the competitive
Okay,
politics,
Professor Ramsey Jampo, thank you. And that's the 1 minute on this matter.
Yes.
It rounds it all up.
Again,
moving to the next issue, Professor Jampo. Professor Jampo, we need to move on. Professor Jampo, we need to move on. 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 I think that you have made your point. We need to move on to the next issue. And the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mohammed, I'm spending just some few minutes on this, on the 24-hour economy. Nelson Rossig Dafiamepo, you have not been admitted. Your counsel, you are breaking the rules on this platform. John Mahama indicated a 24-hour economy and during his engagement with the TUC. The details of it, we understand, is yet to be rolled out. But this is what he said to the TUC. We got a response from the TUC as well. Take a look.
During COVID, we recommended that at times where workers lose their jobs and are unemployed, it should be possible for there to be a scheme where part of their social security savings is paid to them as allowances until they can find another job. And we suggested it, but it fell on deaf ears. Don't sing again, I beg you. We intend to implement a 24-hour economy. And by this, we will provide incentives in terms of reduction in corporate taxes and other exemptions to businesses that will sign up to the 24-hour economy initiative. And if we remember, in the past, but then we must also look at the security side and make sure that we provide them with security. Because if you remember, in the past, filling stations used to work 24 hours. Unfortunately, armed robbers started attacking them, and because of that, they all closed at about 10 o'clock. And so if we're able to provide them with adequate security, businesses and services like that, there's no reason why they can't operate 24 hours. And we'll give them the tax incentives to be able to do so.
That's the flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, talking about the 24-hour economy as one of the solutions to solve the unemployment situation that we're dealing with, feasible or otherwise, because we are starting this conversation getting into the election year proper, because already the policies have started coming. Professor Ransford Jampo, as a labor person, being president of the UTAG UG branch, when you do an assessment of the current state of affairs and then also the situation of unemployment that we're faced with, will this 24-hour economy, based on your own analysis, make any significant impact?
Well, I think if measures and other details are provided, we'll be able to scrutinize it critically and talk about its feasibility. But the point is that, top of my head, I can talk about the fact that then productivity would be increased, because one of our challenges as a developing country is that we are not productive at all. We sleep too early. You want to go and grab a few things at the mall, and then by 8 p.m. they are closed. And you ask yourself, but how? You go to other people's country, they are running a shift system such that some of these important, areas that people could go, can go do business are always, running within, around the clock. Within 24 hours, they have shift system that keeps them running. And so I think that the idea of having a 24-hour economy is a good one. It's an audacious idea if it will be supported by the fine details. And like the moment I heard it, and I just heard him talking about the need to provide them with security. But the moment I heard a 24-hour economy thing, I was saying that then it means we have to beef up security, because people have to work in, at night. And then you have to then be recruiting so many people. Mr. President Mahama, with the greatest of respect, up till now, the University of Ghana and the public universities, people are dying. People are retiring. Government is not giving us the opportunity to recruit, to replace. We are not thinking about hiring new people, but government is not giving us opportunity to recruit and to replace. Yesterday, I taught a class of 1,087 students. 1,087 students. We are not even saying that let us, because we know you will tell us you don't have money. So we are not even saying recruit new lecturers. But those who are retiring and those who are dying, government is not allowing us to even recruit to replace. And so, President Mahama, if you need a 24-hour economy, it means, first of all, you must think about replacing lecturers. Those who have retired, you have to replace them. Those who have died, you have to replace them. And then, secondly, one person cannot teach 24 hours. It means you have to recruit more people to be able to break the numbers so that we have a cycle of 24-hour work and all that. So there are a lot of things that will have to go into it to make the idea feasible. And I'm looking forward to reading much of the details associated with this particular idea. But look, I'll tell you that for somebody to think this way, you ask yourself, right from independence, why haven't we been able to think like this? Okay? And I'm hoping that if he says 24-hour economy, he would go ahead to ensure that once he's elected, things are put in place to give meaning to that. We do not want a promise of dealing with the Goggisberg economy as promised by Akufo-Addo, and then you would come into power, and then you may be saying that 24-hour economy, and then you give excuses. President Mahama, some of us, when you come to power, if Ghanaians decide to give you the mandate again and you come, some of us will not keep quiet. We'll continue to subject you to strict proof. And so be circumspect in the kinds of things you tell us. Make sure that the kinds of things you throw. We are getting into that electioneering campaign season. And we would be monitoring the kinds of things that politicians will be telling us. Don't promise heaven knowing that you can't do all. Identify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interventions that you know you can do and do them well and focus there. Don't promise everything knowing that you may not have even all the resources, you may not have even all the time to do that. That's my counsel to President Mahama. But I want to say that the idea of having a 24-hour economy is superb if it will be given meaning, if you have the details, and if it will be put into full force, then productivity would show up. No nation can talk about development. In fact, there can be no meaningful discussion on productivity without there can be no meaningful discussion of development without highlighting the role of increased productivity. And so if it is supposed to make all of us productive, we will be running shift, we will recruit more people to come and assist and all that, then it is good for us. But I plead that this laudable idea should be something that we would be willing to implement. President Mahama, you may, if they give you the chance, then you would have an opportunity to leave a legacy. Some of us are saying that President Akufo-Addo should leave a certain legacy for himself before he leaves. But leaves office, but it appears he's no longer even interested in leaving a legacy. If you are able to implement an idea of having a 24-hour economy, it will be a legacy that will outlive you.
So the other issue here, beyond what you have said, is about the measurement of productivity. And that has been always the element of assessment that, to many labor experts, is missing in the public sector reform structure. So at a point, we were told that government pretends to pay, and public sector workers also pretend to be working. Now, if the concern about the lack of the measurement of the productivity of the public sector still exists, and then we're looking at other ways of adding on to the wage bill, which takes close to 60 to 70% of our entire revenue. And in fact, at a point as we speak, government is even borrowing to pay salaries. And according to the finance minister, the public sector payroll is full. So how do you then marry that concern of the lack of assessment of the productivity in the public sector plus this proposal of a 24-hour economy?
You see, that was why I said that we need the details, because the details should capture the fact that maybe we have an over-bloated public service. Maybe people are pretending to be working and we are pretending to be paying them. There are no benchmarks as to what people must do and how they can be assessed. When we get the detail, I mean, because you cannot put that superb idea on nothing. So we would need to interrogate the details. And I want to believe that before making such a promise, he should have he had undertaken a review on or the audit of our public service. And not only public service, but if you're talking about 24-hour economy, you're talking also about the private sector and general atmosphere that creates continuous work just to ensure that productivity goes on. And so my view is that the devil should be in the details. Yeah. Let us see the details and interrogate the feasibility. But like I said, I don't believe that he said this without having thought through what it truly, means to have a 24-hour economy. If you thought through, let us have the details and let us interrogate to be sure that what is being promised can be done. And I've sounded a caution that Ghanaians are no longer going to be tolerant of promises that cannot be implemented. Ghanaians are no longer going to be tolerant of promises whose implementation merely amount to ticking the box. Policies that they tell you they have implemented, but they are not implemented well, they are not given the desired resources, they are not allowed to be implemented in a manner that ensures that they have the desired impact. We are not going to be taking the boxes, saying that they say free SHS, say Maye, and they said this Maye, you are just taking the boxes and they are not really affecting and impacting on the lives and the soul of people. We want policies whose implementation would really affect the lives of the people tangibly. And once again, I applaud the idea of a 24-hour economy. But we should have the details, and President Mahama must know that it's a laudable promise that, in my view, has touched the heart of many people. If he doesn't implement it, then we'll question him.
Well, the TUC Secretary General told the same path about the importance of this policy. But Nelson Rossing,
yes,
in the end, it's about the feasibility of this and who is going to lead this. Is it going to be a government-led policy or a private sector-led policy or a public-private sector collaboration to get this to happen, especially because of the current challenges that the public sector itself is faced with the increasing wage bill, which is a burden on government's own revenue generation, and then also the case of which we find ourselves in now as a result of this IMF conditionalities, where there's a conditional freeze on public sector employment for as long as the IMF program is in place. And the IMF program will be in place after 2024. Yes. So how are you going to deal with this?
Okay. The IMF is an institution that can always be engaged in terms renegotiated. But speaking to this policy, what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has done is to simply promise a change in approach to doing things as a country. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? It means that when somebody is unwell at the dead of night in Tongochanakwe and he's taken to the health center, the security man won't say that there's no nurse on duty. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? It means that when the registry of the University of Ghana cannot close after 5 p.m., there will be somebody that will be at post that students can go there and have services rendered to them. It means that we'll have, for instance, Saturday courts. Yes. It means that, for instance, we'll have Saturday courts. Yeah. The courts can sit on Saturdays and work. We are going to expand the frontier of delivering services to our people. Court.
Saturday court. Saturday court for SNIT
for SNIT
and then bail.
But you're going to expand.
We are going to expand it.
It's all part
for
of the 24 hours.
Can't the court sit after 4 p.m.? Yeah. Why, for instance? Yeah. We have so many high court judges. Mm-hmm. Some are not even manning courts yet. So why is it that High Court Criminal Division 1, after sitting from 9 a.m. to about 2 p.m., another judge won't come and sit from, say, 3 p.m. to, say, 8 p.m.? Yeah. Why not?
Can the wage bill support this? I think
they are already on the wage bill.
The ability to pay.
Hold on. Ocansey, let's put this matter methodically in context.
Okay.
I am saying there are high court judges who are already on the wage bill who are not manning courts. So this 24-hour economy approach will let them have the opportunity to sit at courts that have adjourned for the day. We should be able to have time to do extra work in the public service. That's exactly what His Excellency is saying. That when it is 5 p.m., it doesn't mean that DVLA cannot renew licenses for drivers. Why? Why shouldn't DVLA work after 5 p.m.? Why shouldn't DVLA work after 5 p.m.? Why shouldn't, for instance, construction firms work after 5 p.m.? We should be able to have road construction at dead of night when there's light on. In a lot of countries,
that's what they do.
Road construction is actually done at dead of night when there's less traffic on the road, so that by the morning the road is fixed.
Well, I see a lot of the Chinese.
Exactly. No, not a lot of Chinese. So the man is saying this is the approach.
This
is the approach.
Deliberately, they will be sprinkling water on your car.
They do it at night.
No, daytime. They are
yes, but I'm saying that this is what His Excellency John Dramani is saying. Industry. Unilever should be able to work after 5 p.m. That's what he's saying. You understand me? Nestle should be able to continue manufacturing into the dead of night, around the clock. He says services, tourism. Companies, service.
There are companies that run night shifts.
There is no deliberate policy.
Let us not use exceptions to prove the rule.
Thank you. The man says that as a nation, we are going to have a change in approach. Commerce. Markets should not be closing after 5 p.m. People should still go to markets and transact businesses after 5 p.m. I've already spoken about the judiciary, the security services.
Right.
Policemen shouldn't be on sentry duty, and when it is 5 p.m., he's gone home. People should be able to continue to offer these services. So, in starting the conversation, I have cited a lot of growth pole projects that he initiated when he was in power, or as the leader of the nation. Today, if you go to Terminal 3, Terminal 3 works around the clock. If you hadn't built Terminal 3, wouldn't be experiencing that. I agree that the nature of the airline business is such that flights can come in around the clock. But when you do so by a deliberate policy, the airlines will open additional routes.
So let me get the understanding. That's what they do. Are you saying that before Terminal 3, Terminal 2 wasn't running 24 hours?
Terminal, you can get to the airport and some services are closed. Why? I have worked in the industry.
Yes.
I have worked in the industry, so I understand how the airline industry works.
So you're saying that some functions would have been closed, but the core function of the airport,
it is not always running, my brother. There are parts of the airport that closes after 5 p.m. The people go home.
So the idea is to have a 24-hour all services on board.
All services by deliberate policy.
But it's not to say that previously it wasn't running 24 hours. I just wanted to distinguish that.
Don't use the exception
to prove the wrong.
To prove the wrong.
There's no rule, actually.
Sorry?
There's no rule.
There's no rule. Let me continue by saying industry. For instance, G-Hawk shouldn't be closing after 5 p.m. You shouldn't have workers trooping to the house after 5 p.m. There should be another batch coming in. You understand? To work. So this is how we can quicken the pace of development in the country. For instance, ECG offices shouldn't be closing after 5 p.m. When people have problems at dead of night, they should be able to drive to the office that is operational. These are essential services. So I've given a lot of projects that is done. It's done the University of Ghana Medical Center.
So if I get the understanding, is there going to be an evaluation of the labor force to know those who are employed but underperforming or underproductive, and to also increase and deploy them to other productive areas?
Already there's a system. There's a system.
Is that part of it?
Hold on. Already there's a system of evaluating public servants. There's a system of evaluating the performance of public servants.
But we know that the underproductivity in the public sector is not disputed, isn't it?
No, it may be disputed that there is low productivity. But it's not saying that it's coming to change that. It says that I am coming to ensure that where the deliberate working hours says that after 5 p.m. everybody should go home, there should be another batch of people who should continue offering that service. That's what it's saying. Now let me add this. Somebody has asked that how are we going to assess this? I said there are already projects that are exhibiting those qualities, those characteristics. So it will be extended to all other sectors deliberately.
Right.
Deliberately.
Okay. And talk about one of the sectors that Nelson Rossington mentioned is the courts. As a lawyer, you know the workings of the court. Will that proposal, at least taking into consideration the reference to what happens in the court, as Nelson Dafembo said, work, that 24-hour approach, would it have any significant impact on how the courts work, as has been proposed by John Mahama?
Absolutely. Oh, that one there, absolutely. I can tell you that there are a number of, I was in Singapore, was it 2018 or so, and they have a system where you have a court case, the workers, you know, especially the analysts, the junior workers, to ensure job security. He wants to be at work every day. So they have a system where he has a court case or she has a court case. She comes to court at 5 or 6 p.m. after work. It was beautiful. You can check in Singapore. I saw with my eyes. I was surprised. They said yes. So they make sure that workers can go to work, have full attention during the day, and go and deal with their court cases in the evening. Yeah, and apart from that, the US and other people, they've always had these systems, right? But Singapore, so every time we are quoting Lee Kuan Yew, those are some of the things Lee Kuan Yew Singapore does, that you go to court in the night after you've closed from work. Yes, so you secure your job, I can pay your lawyer, and then go to court in the night. So for me, with what I saw with my eyes in Singapore, I think that was 2018. That went there, I think so. Of course, because I prefer to mention the example of Singapore because at least we started with them. Yeah, Kwame Nkrumah's time, we're even better than them. And today, see how they are miles ahead. We, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, etc. Our GDP was per capita was higher than them. Now see how they've overtaken us and transformed their economy. So as you read Lee Kuan Yew's books on transforming Singapore, that's one of the areas that I have seen with my eyes. So why not? Let's embrace it. The only thing is that, you know, sometimes there's sloganeering. That's why now I'm just so cautious. Because once again, Plato will tell us that, Charlie, the politicians, there's no honest one amongst them. Don't worry. That's why you're a lawyer as well. But Plato will say there's no honest politician. So though it sounds like laudable, I'm like, okay, he's here to come out with the final details, right? So let him come out with the details, benchmark them, year 1, year 2, year 3, so that at every point in time we can pinpoint that, we are year 1, where have you reached, blah, 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 all that. Because we definitely must make progress. You know, we are being too slow. So for me, anything that would kind of give us a quantum leap, that would kind of more or less jumpstart this economy. Because now we are in a deep crater, right? And by some accounts, they say it may take us a decade to come out of this Akufo-Addo-Bawumia misgovernance. This Akufo-Addo-Bawumia misgovernance may take us a decade to get out of. So for Mahama to promise something that kind of, in this case, give a quantum leap, a kind of jump start, it sounds exciting, but I'm a bit wary, I'm a bit careful because of what we've experienced in the past, 2016, when Bawumia was all over the place. We'll change this economy in 18 months. We'll change this economy in 18 months. And yet, by the time COVID hit, he had more than 36, and yet they hadn't transformed the economy from the Gettysburg economy that it is. You see, so that's where we're looking at. Right. And let me, final comment. As Mr. Mahama is promising 24-hour economy, I think he should come back again on the matter of corruption. Yeah, he should come back because that's a real problem. What are we see really going to do different? That one first. I think corruption and constitutional.
No, Council. You see, things are playing out because this is the 24-hour economy is the focus. What he has said. Yes. I think when he makes a statement on how he's going to fight corruption, that would answer your question, is it not? Yeah. Yes. So I just wanted us to have a structured conversation so that we don't. I'm mindful of the time.
I know. Just one point.
Council,
one point.
I am mindful of the time.
If you had allowed me, I would have said it.
Let me
go to the 24-hour economy is also a source of accountability. There are people who sit in offices and do things. When they close,
you do this, you know I'll deduct very well. Your
very well. But it's a source of accountability.
You know,
yes.
The love for Mr. Mahama by my senior is so manifest. When Mr. Mahama promises 24-hour economy, he will not recount to his audience the things he had said that he was unable to do. He said, oh, yeah, it's a good thing. I've seen it in Singapore. But to the main point, I'm a bit slow in dismissing entirely a policy proposal, guided by the experience of the NDC's approach to free SHS. All right? So I cannot say confidently that it is not something that cannot be done. But I can raise very critical questions so that the proponents of the policy would provide clarity. The first question is whether it is a novel situation in Ghana. It is not. it is not because critical public service providers are already running on a 24-hour shift system. All right? Within the private sector, steel manufacturers and other manufacturing companies are doing that in order to be able to meet the demands of their customers. And so in that regard, one cannot say that this idea is entirely new. It is already happening.
And that's why Professor Jampo made the point that it shouldn't be the exception to be the measurement. It should be a rule, policy-driven.
And that's why I said that that phrase is inapplicable to this proposal, because there's no such rule for us to even be talking about exceptions. All right, I'm just saying that it is not a novel idea. Critical public service providers are already running a 24-hour system on shift basis. You take our hospitals, doctors and nurses go in the morning, close at 12, another set comes, close at 8, another set comes, run throughout the night. The security services 24/7 are constantly providing security throughout the length and breadth of our country.
So the thought of
in the private sector,
expanding this to bring in others.
I was dead silent throughout.
I'm asking the questions. Yes.
All right. So, and like I said, within the private sector, there are lots and lots of manufacturing companies that are already running a 24-hour shift system, because they have clients' needs that they have to meet. And then they pay overtime bonuses to deserving staff. So it is something that is happening. Now, he says that it would lead to new jobs. And in my brother's submission, you know, he was emphasizing on existing jobs, which clearly confirms his misunderstanding of the policy.
No, I never said so.
Oh, no, you said there are judges on payroll, because he asked a question of wage bill.
Yes.
And your answer is that these people are already on payroll.
Don't take this out of context. Because that was in respect of judiciary.
Now you're providing clarity. Let me move on.
I provided the clarity.
So the
listen to me in context
of wage bill has to be answered, all right? That you're going to bring in new set of workers into some public sector agencies to run a shift system. Okay. Are these agencies income-generating agencies such that the incomes are capable of dealing with their salaries and allowances that we will not have to burden the public purse with debt?
Of course.
That clarity has not been provided. More importantly, is the policy going to be rolled out throughout the country, or is it Greater Accra policy? Because you and I would agree that in vast parts of our country, there's essentially no economy. Prof, you agree? Oh, yes.
What?
Yes, a vast part of our country, there's really...
What is your understanding of economy?
But, so, for example, if you take... I'm coming. If you take my constituency, for example.
There's no economy in your constituency.
I'm not saying that there's no economy. You're not getting the point.
That's why I want to understand what you mean by there's no economy outside of Accra.
Private businesses running 24/7, like the manufacturing. In other places, the economy is farming.
So it's not part of the economy?
Are you going to ensure that all farmers, in the absence of any incentive, because the policy has not indicated any incentive for people who want to take advantage of that, that people should farm 24 hours in rural Ghana? So that's why I said that they must go on to provide clarity. And in his earlier submission, when we were discussing Dr. Baume, he made the point about trust. The candidate who is promising us today that he's going to run a 24-hour economy is not new. He has been president for more than 4 years. He made similar promises in 2012, and he was voted by the Ghanaian people. And every single economic promise he made to the Ghanaian people, he failed. Every single one of them, and we can take them one by one. Every single one of them that he made, And you can refer to their 2012 manifesto, which was titled Advancing the Better Ghana. Every single one of them, he failed.
On this one is that
please, can you name them?
For example, he said that for 4 years, he was going to ensure that our annual GDP growth rate is 8% for 4 years. For 4 years, he never met it.
How many did he meet?
Not even once.
It was complete zero. 2041 was the growth rate.
It was
when we got the highest in the world, which year was that?
That was in 2011. That was in 2011. So for 4 years.
So he wasn't Mills' deputy.
Oh, come on. I was specific in my choice of words. I said when he made promises on the economy to us in 2012, and the Ghanaian people voted for him, for 4 years, he missed every single economic promise that he made to the people of Ghana. So if such a candidate comes back to promise us a new set of economic aspirations, I would be slow in believing him, especially so when he was presidential candidate and made similar promises and was voted, and he governed for more than 4 years without meeting one of those set of promises.
Take note of this, and this is how we round up on this. The understanding is that this is a headline policy pronouncement.
Yes.
And so the details of it, to be fair, it's going to come in the coming days. Yes. That's what the understanding I get. So this is a headline policy pronouncement. So the devil is in the detail, let's say, and would also answer all the questions that you posed about this particular policy. So we will wait for the details. And that is expected to be captured in your manifesto.
1 minute rebuttal.
Yes.
One, the policy is a day and night economy policy. And this is by deliberate design. So he cannot say that outside of Accra, there's no economy elsewhere. That is about the most unbelievable statement I've heard. The economy refers to the economy.
Your candidate's credibility to achieve this.
Sorry?
He's questioning your candidate's credibility to achieve
but his
this.
understanding of economy itself is a problem for me. How can you say that there's no economy outside of Greater Accra?
You know what I mean.
I don't understand what you mean. Exactly my point. And I'm saying that this policy is also a source of accountability, because you see, when somebody works from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., he will leave his desk for another to come and take over. Whatever is happening, another person will see. There are offices in this country, they cook things for years, for months. They don't want anybody else to see what's happening. So people, different eyes, different minds, different persons will be running services from a certain office where documents, transactions cannot be hidden from others. So it will be a check on public servants who want to be corrupt, on civil servants who want to be correct.
Servants will check the,
all right, thank you.
Of course.
So this leads us to the next issue, because you dwelt a lot on the judiciary. President Akufo-Addo has nominated 3 more justices to serve on the Supreme Court to get the numbers up to 15. In fact, it is because of the vacancy created by the 3 justices that have gone on the mandatory retirement. And indeed, the idea is to replace them. But why exactly is this an issue, especially on, Professor Jampo, your tangent about how this tells on the judiciary in its current form? Why?
Well, it's problematic. One of the studies, the foremost documentation that called for constitution review was a document called the Democracy Consolidation Strategy Paper. That was a research undertaken by the IEA in collaboration with the Ghana Political Parties Program. Now, this paper audited the gaps in Ghana's democracy and with a view to proposing reforms to our democracy. One of the recommendations that it made was the need for us to review our constitution. And one challenge with the constitution that was identified was the absence of ceiling on the number of judges that can be appointed to sit, as Supreme Court justices.
Put some sort of a capping.
Yes. So, but if you go to the U.S. also, U.S. I think they have there's a ceiling 9 justices. They sit at any time, and they bring finality to litigations and dispute. But it appears that, yes, we made that recommendation in the Democracy Consolidation Strategy paper. The Constitution Review Commission took this recommendation and subjected it into nationwide public consultations, and the outcome of the consultation was that, yes, we should set a ceiling of, or cap the number of justices that can be appointed to the Supreme Court.
And this was based on the
Constitutional Review Commission's recommendation. After
it's in the white paper.
Yes, after the DCSP had made the recommendation, the Constitutional Review Commission took that recommendation and consulted Ghanaians. And Ghanaians said, we want it. Unfortunately, the Constitution Review process has been stalled because we continuously allow ourselves to be plagued with the challenges of policy discontinuities. If NDC initiates, MPP must discontinue. If MPP initiates, NDC must discontinue. In a manner that undermines the instructions given to us by the directive principles of state policy. Because of that, we are not implementing the provisions, or we are stalled the constitutional review process because it was not the MPP that introduced it. Now, I was expecting somebody like President Akufo-Addo to have been guided by at least the provisions of the Constitution Review, of the recommendation of the Constitution Review Commission. You know, the last time that President Mahama was heard saying that he was going to balance out the court, we were all worried, okay? But if you don't set a ceiling on the number of justices that can be appointed, to serve on the Supreme Court, then to topple the thinking that as a nation, this is not the way to go. We cannot continue to be appointing justices, because, I mean, if we have a case and I'm the government, you are the opposition, it goes against me. What I can do simply will be to appoint other justices to the Supreme Court to go review and to overturn. I think it does not help our quest to promote.
Don't work that way.
Well, it does not help to, please don't talk about the norm. We're talking practicality. It does not help our quest to promote judicial independence, and until we are able to agree on the ceiling of justices that must be appointed to serve on the Supreme Court, we will continue, the Supreme Court itself will continue to suffer that kind of perception that they are always under the influences of the executive arm of government. It is not good for our quest to ensure a proper justice system. It doesn't help.
Lamartin, people, because of the experience at the bar, and having, at least based on the analysis on this table, you are senior counsel. So what are the real threats or challenges that is absence of the capping of the justice to be appointed at the Supreme Court really pose to this structure that we are running, or to our democracy largely?
Okay, yeah, so Mr. Ocansey, this matter of the capping, I must say I'm still learning on it, right? As of now, it's not exactly clear to me how and where we are going to peg it. So it's a discussion that perhaps we have to continue having.
Democracies,
because
others have 9.
Yes,
and
so
it's 6 to bring finality to
the
all these people.
the review. So at that time we're talking about 13 when Kufuor was in government, right? When Kufuor was there, so the APR review mentioned 13. That historically the number had been 13, blah blah. But since then we've gone gone past the 13, right? And it's gone way ahead. So the problem for me is that. Between capping and independence of the judiciary, I think the independence, how to amend the Constitution to make the nomination process and the judges more independent, is more important to me now than just capping.
Because speak against the will of the people. The will of the people was that it should be capped. This particular proposal was subjected to extensive nationwide public consultation.
And then
we should not be seen to be fighting against what the people of Ghana want.
Understand? So, Mr. Council, just add to that. You see, when you mention the U.S. Supreme Court that they are just 9, right? There are so many things that we haven't said. You see, the way the US justice system is structured, there is a state level of court. So in each state, you can go up to the Supreme Court in each state before you come to the federal level. So their system is 2 tiers, state and then federal. And from the state, you can come to the US Supreme Court. Some, I mean, complexes. But let me mention this. Each judge, they have top brains to support them. 4.
Right.
4 big top people. Ghana here, our judges are suffering. The clerks that they give them, they are often junior lawyers. I'm not deriding junior, but I'm saying that generally they are younger ones who haven't seen much. You see a 20-something-year person at the bar as a clerk to a Supreme Court judge. Even a 10-year, somebody who's done 10 years at the bar, it's not. They don't have enough resources, the research and all that. So the issue of capping is quite complex. Let's discuss it more. But please, we need the constitution amended to make sure that the presidents usually don't nominate these people. We want to have an independent judicial council. The president should not nominate 4 people onto the judicial council as it is currently in our constitution. The president should not have a say in who gets nominated and appointed as a Supreme Court judge. And the current Chief Justice supports it, at least, by saying that the president should not have a hand in the discipline of judges.
Right.
You see, yes.
So this conversation will definitely keep going. It's not one that would end today. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner, and yes, we're out of time. And he is also the leader of one of the individual bondholder groups. He is the convener of the demonstration, and on this table, a senior lawyer for that matter. Also, Akbar Yusuf Khomeini is special assistant to the vice president. He's a private legal practitioner as well. And then also Professor Ramsojampo is a professor of political science, University of Ghana, Legon. And Nelson Roxon Dafian is member of parliament for the Southbank constituency. He's also a private legal practitioner. Apologies. And on behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Key Point. I'm Alfred Ocansey. Have a great weekend.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, you know, just like Pep Guardiola's style.
When someone beats the buzzer with a shot from the logo, like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponents and punching my waist to a knockout, like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up. What makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to all the extensive highlights, analysis, and insights.
So do join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on QFM 92.7 as we serve you the best sports buffet and most satisfying in the sports world. The 3 sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in the sports world here on Sports All.